What is going on, everybody? Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. We have got a fun little, let's say, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. We have got a fun everybody as soon as he could. He just couldn't stand to not get some pets here at the start of the stream. Everybody doing okay? How's y'all's Wednesday night going? Talk to me. Perfect. Glad to hear everything. I can't tell if the mic is picking it up or not, but yeah, the echo came entirely from the fact that I've got to go get the stream, the stream link, and that plays it through myself every single time. It gets me every single time. But so I'm glad that we can be here. Guys, we got a win to talk about. Not only do we have a win to talk about, we've got Justin Fields QB1 to talk about. So this is quite the song and dance, isn't it? At this point, what I can tell you is that we can go in a lot of directions. We've got we've got offense to talk about. We've got some fun defense to talk about. So let's be honest, and I want to give it to the chat to go with first. Where do you want me to start? Do we want to go Fields? Do we want to go offense with Dalton? Do we want to go offense with Fields? Do you want me to just sort of wing it? I would love, it's not even that like I need direction, but yeah, perfect. I had a feeling, Bryson, we will get to the Allen Robinson play, but we got 2 votes for defense, one of which is John Italia, which is a member. So with that in mind, I'm going to have to go with the paying customers here, which, by the way, if you want a question answered or play broken down, if you do donate through the YouTube Super Chat, whatever, I'll absolutely get to that ASAP. Know that you can kind of skip the line with that in mind, but let's go with the defense first, because I think there's a lot of cool things to talk about. So let's jump right in. So the cool thing about this defense was that the Bears' defense obviously commanded massive parts of the game. I mean, let's be honest, guys. This was a performance to not just necessarily a performance to remember from the defense, but a performance that the defense needed after getting absolutely gutted by the Rams just last week. So how did they do it? Well, let's go ahead to the very start of the game over here. As good thing that timer's working. Not like I'm counting on that or anything. Perfect. All right, so we're looking at, let's see here. About the 6-minute mark. This is the Bengals' first play of the game, and I want to just start here because I think it helps make everything absolutely clear, right? So, the big, let's see. Oh, no, Elois, I know what you mean. About hyping the Bears defense up. Let's just say it looked a lot better than the Rams defense. I would not call it. So Hugo asks, was it a good defensive showing or a poor Cincy offensive showing? That's a great question. I think breaking down this play will answer. I'm going to diagram it in just a second, but note that the Bears are running pretty standard man cover 1. That's sort of the look they came out in anyways, with, Gibson here in the back, Eddie Jackson up in the front. So you've got a safety rotation look something like this out of 2 high, with Jackson coming down, Gibson coming up. But I want you to pay attention to what Cincy does on offense here, because this says just about what I think of their offense. Does this play look familiar to you guys? Ball's already out. What we have seen is curl, 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 5 curls. Would you look at that? So the Cincinnati offense played the ball really short, basically all game, and that really helped the Bears, because I would argue that they got exposed last week with deep throws, namely, that were just attacking all sorts of seams. But in this specific case, what you're going to see as we go through this is that the Bears were playing against a Cincinnati offense that didn't want to do anything. So they played the ball short, to the point, basically the entire game, and you're going to see the Bears offense slowly but surely get faster and faster at triggering down. I wanted to start there because somebody asked earlier, just a little while ago, I think it was Hugo, it was Hugo, saying, is it a good defensive performance or a good offense, or is it good defense or bad offense? A little both. As you get the idea. Thaddeus, why did they do that? Because Burrow likes to throw short. I mean, the thing that I think that some people forget about Joe Burrow is that he has not shown himself to be this exceptional deep passer. But one of the things that really helped the Bears Second play of the game, this will show us a little bit more. So I want you to keep your eyes namely on Akeem Hicks, who had a heck of a game, and Bilal Nichols, even Robert Quinn to some degree. What was really important in this game was that as the Bears were starting to deploy, and we'll get there, more defensive backs onto the field, it was imperative that their front four, not just their front seven, but their front four namely, got after it. Anonymous, you can look at the tip line in the, there's a tip thing in the description. There should be. But anyways, let me get back to it because believe it or not, we may not have an ultra long stream today. But so let's, if you watch this play, watch Akeem Hicks. He's going to soak a double team really, really quickly. And Robert Quinn comes over, makes a nice little tackle right here. But so Quinn did get credit with the extra sack, but we'll get there when we get there. The big key is that when you watch this Bengals offense, they should have been able to get more on the ground against the Bears, but they didn't. So because the Bears were able to take that ground game away from them, again, make sure you're watching these front four, namely Quinn that's Nichols. Quinn and Hicks do the yeoman's work here, where one thing that you notice is that Hicks blows his man straight backwards, and as the running back hesitates, Quinn comes in to make the play. You see a whole lot here of Bears football, or of, I would call it almost old school Bears defense, but two-man games up front where one Bears defender makes a big play that in this case it's Hicks, turns the runner towards a teammate, and then another teammate is there to finish the play off. Hard to make a play entirely by yourself in the NFL, but the Bears were able to combo 1 to 2 people a whole lot. Here's another decent example, actually. So if we take a look at this from the wide angle, you're going to see Hicks get over on this outside zone play and force the running back into the middle of the field, where in this case it's going to be Ogletree, and I think that's Nichols, who slide over to force second down in this case, where Hicks turns the runner inside. There's Ogletree and Nichols, who drag him down for a 2 to 3 yard gain. He's saying, I unfortunately am going to need a little bit more information. Oh, you're talking about the long touchdown, aren't you? Yeah, we'll get there. But so point is that what the Bears were able to do, you got to remember that in the world of the NFL, so I think we're on third down now. Let me just draw roughly what 10 yards looks like. If you're only getting 3 yards or less per run, you're only getting about that far on any given down, like this area. So 3 yard gain is just not that much, when then another 3 yard gain gets you to there, and then maybe you get the remaining yards. The big key that I would tell you, so the point here being that what the real, in my opinion, flaw in the Cincinnati game plan is that they continued to try to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. And if they gained 2 yards, victory Bears. If they gained 1 yard, victory Bears. 3 yards, victory Bears. 0 yards, victory Bears. There were a ton of plays where they just didn't get enough from a Cincinnati perspective to really warrant the running focus that they were able to provide, and that helped the Bears defense stay inside coverage packages, just like the one you're about to see. And this is actually a really pretty nice individual play from Kindle Vildor, but I want you to notice right here somebody who we didn't see basically the entire Rams game, which was DeAndre Houston Carson. If you took a look at what the Bears defense did, one of the things that they did was that they played a ton out of dime. So that is DIME for those who are unschooled in football. And what that means is that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive backs. Basically envision that they subbed out Ogletree for DeAndre Houston Carson in most downs that would be considered a passing down. So instead of playing with the standard nickel formation, 2 linebackers, they played 6 defensive backs and Roquan, which is as good of a passing coverage setup as you're going to get for the Bears. Now, it's not perfect. It's still got Kindle Vildor one-on-one, but he's a solid little man corner, and in this specific case, he gets just enough. Thank you so much, anonymous person. Super duper helpful. Seriously. Thank you. But so, with that in mind, what is it? Vildor jumps out, tips the pass away, and is able to force what was a third down. Oh, except for, if you remember, this is actually the play where Tashawn Gibson gets called for taunting, but right? Not much you can do because the taunting rule had a real weekend, didn't it? It wasn't just Bears. It was tons of things. The call that went against Cincinnati was equally crappy. Thank you, C-Note, for subscribing. Like, the taunting rule was a real mess. But so the big key here is that the Bears were able to stop these key running downs. Like, we could go chronological. I don't know if we necessarily have like the time to go fully chronological, but let me take a look at my formation. Oh, yeah. So then Desai just decided that he felt like getting just flat out weird. There are some formations that I have absolutely got to show you guys. So this is just, I think this is a standard run where the Bears, again, in this case, it's Hicks coming over, so you can keep an eye on Hicks. The Bears defense just had enough guys that here when Nichols that's not Nichols, that's Angelo Blackson, but when Blackson and Ogletree and Adecho kind of get washed into what looks like the formation of a little tiny hole here, Hicks was able to roll right on over and make the play for only a 4, maybe 5-yard gain, and just in the modern NFL, that's just not a ton. But here, like, seriously, Desai got super duper weird. This is Khalil Mack. Like, some of these things worked and some of these things did not. We're going to go through the ones that did, the ones that didn't. But, like, Khalil Mack is out here covering a slot receiver. And surprise, surprise, when they actually go to make the play, it is, in fact, not Khalil Mack covering a slot receiver. And Burrow finds where Khalil Mack was and makes an easy completion. Thank you, William McKinney. Super cool to have you on board. But the Desai did a lot of this. Just, A, weird stuff, but B, 5-man blitzes. One thing that I loved that Desai really changed over. Thank you. I think that's Al Haberman. The text is really tight. But so Desai learned from the Rams that you can't just have 4 guys go downhill the whole game and expect to do anything. Thank you, Michael Halatek. Great to have you involved. Love your podcast. But so Desai would throw 5-man blitzes at the Bengals like they were nothing. If it wasn't a 5-man blitz, it was a weird formation. If it wasn't a weird formation, it was a stunt. The defensive line was busy. It was doing something the entire game long. And I thought that was really beneficial to the Bears because it kind of kept the Bengals guessing, but yeah, super interesting. Bryson, actually, I would say it's its own thing. Vic didn't do some of the really, really bizarre stuff that I would say that they did, or that the Bears did. Vic tended to just say, okay, we're going to have, let me get this paused. Vic tended to just have, okay, we're going to have all 4 guys go. Desai is over here throwing weird blitzes. You're going to see one where he puts 3 down linemen, Khalil Mack at the inside linebacker spot, and Roquan Smith over there. Like, there's a whole lot of just bizarre stuff that they did here that I'm a big fan of because it kept the Bears in dime basically as often as they could be, so that when they did have to play Duke Shelley, they didn't have to lean on him more than they anticipated. As of now, Anonymous, I certainly approved of what he did here. The DBs have to be better than they were against the Rams. But thankfully, if you guys can guess where I'm coming from, we got a whole lot. We basically had like a beautiful, beautiful day from number 33, Jalen Johnson. I highlighted this play specifically because this is like still in the first drive. Watch Jalen Johnson's footwork. I would slow this down if I can. Jalen Johnson is becoming an unbelievable zone corner. Right here, he's eyeing up the route. You can see him matching feet. He sees the route cut inside, gets in front of it, so he establishes his ground. This isn't holding so much as it's the guy running into him. And therefore, when he goes to break out of what is basically like, it's kind of a deep sluggo, it almost looks like, or like an in-out, Jalen's with him the whole time. 33 locked his guys down. Like, this was absolutely bananas. Oh, yeah, Duke Shelley was a real problem. But so... let's see. I see what you mean, Case. The only problem is that I would love to act it as a slow-mo, but you don't get, it's a little too choppy for that. I'd have to probably widen things out. But the point is, when you watch Jalen Johnson in this specific game, Joe Burrow would panic if you will, and when he would panic, he would go towards his main direction. This is another example of something that I thought Desai did really well. I think that's Houston Cart. It's not. But the point is, when you watch what the Bears were able to do, they were able to congest the middle of the field whenever Cincinnati tried to push it that way, because generally speaking, Burrow likes this area. It's kind of like Trubisky. I'm not going to pretend it's not. He really loves... Pog, 100 viewers. But so Joe Burrow really likes to throw 15 yards and under most of the time. So with that in mind, the Bears really tried as best they could to jam as many people into that middle of the field area as possible, dime looks, so on and so forth, and go from there. But so you see some pressure that's really nice right here. Elongated skeleton, I think it's a little of both. It's kind of the whole same argument as Nagy, right? Nagy Foles and so on and so forth. There's a tough relationship between what the quarterback likes to do and what the coach likes to do. Chances are people aren't going to ask Russell Wilson to play West Coast offense when he likes to be that deep strike guy. So is that Pete Carroll's attitude when he's a run and gun guy? Or not even run and gun, when he's a ground and pound kind of offensive coach? Or is it Russell Wilson's tendency that he tends to go deep? But so, like everything else, it wasn't just Jalen Johnson. It wasn't just this or that. It was also the fact that Angelo Blackson here is able to create some pressure with Jeremiah Attacho getting getting underneath Joe from behind that forces a throw out quickly. There was a lot to like here. I mean, the Bears' defensive front was just generally hardcore. Here's Jalen Johnson with a beautiful pass breakup. The big key here to me is that Jalen has shown me he's gotten very, very good. We'll go through his own stuff, and I want to put something out if I can later that highlights Johnson specifically. So, if it comes out, watch it too. But so Jalen Johnson's gotten extraordinarily good at finding where the receiver is running. He's applying scouting very much similar to Kyle Fuller is the way I would describe it, and saying, okay, so Joe Burrow likes to throw. This is second down right here. So it's second down. I don't think this guy's going to take me deep. If he does, I'm willing to risk it. I'm going to play this like it's going to be something shallow. So when you watch Johnson, you can see right here, he went from middle leverage to just inside his feet. So that's going to make it really hard on anything cutting in. At this point, Jalen is testing that he will get outside, that he can beat somebody to the edge if that's where the throw goes, but that he doesn't expect Burrow to throw it. So when this guy breaks down, Jalen's right on top of him, establishes his hands, because that's perfectly legal in this case, and just swats the ball down. I mean, it's beautiful. This kind of cornerbacking is truly extraordinary. And believe it or not, Saul, Jalen Johnson didn't do a ton different. Jalen was one of the only DBs that didn't truly get victimized in that Rams game. And in this case, I would argue that his big difference, somebody said textbook, you're absolutely right. The big difference between Jalen Johnson year 1 and Jalen Johnson year 2 is that I would argue Jalen has gotten very, very good at scouting his man, scouting his opponent, and not guessing wrong. He isn't tending to get caught up with, like, he used to be drifting. You see this a lot with Vildor, as a matter of fact, who we can talk about Vildor in a little bit, because somebody asked if he's a CB2. I would argue right now he's still a CB3, CB4, but he's a sophomore. So you don't necessarily need to go barking up his tree when he's a 5th round pick. But so the big key here is that Jalen has gotten really, really comfortable attacking his man, forcing his man out of position, so much so that later in the game, he literally got a pass defense because he was so in the right position. The ball hit him in the back and fell down. Jalen has played really fabulous football through 2 weeks, so we'll see. I mean, knock on wood, anything negative happens. But he has really shined. And as you can see, the Bears deployed here on second down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in coverage. Chances are that's DeAndre Houston Carson. As a matter of fact, I think it is. And what this does is it means that as Burrow ends up getting pushed out to Johnson, I remember there were a whole lot of people, myself included, wondering why Zach Taylor's game plan was so heavy on throwing at Jalen Johnson. That seemed kind of silly. And I think a lot of it is that it wasn't supposed to be. In this case, what you're going to see, for instance, is that the Bears have pushed a lot of safeties into this area. Normally a cover 2 defense, or a 2-high shell at the very least. The Bears have done a whole lot with Jackson or Gibson way back here so that they can have a safety ready to trigger when this route comes over. You're going to see Gibson follow and Roquan bite down on this one with DeAndre Houston-Carson here. Like, the Bears did a whole lot with trying to make sure that these over-the-middle areas got filled up. Defensively speaking, they wanted to push Burrow into uncomfortable territory. They wanted to make Joe Burrow get down the sidelines, maybe attack the seams in deep areas, or attack this. Like, if I was going to draw specifically where the Bears were willing to concede yardage, it's like, hang on. All right, so this specifically, this unhighlighted area, that's what they were making certain that they could, what's the word? Like, contain. The Bears were not going to give up that side, or they were going to let Joe Burrow have the sideline yardage if he wanted it, but these cheap inside throws they were not something that the Bears wanted to allow easily. Here, Jalen Johnson obviously just takes it away, which was awesome. But so, Bryson, I have no idea. Like, it's funny because I forgot Mike Pettin was involved, but that's kind of like saying the same thing, right? About, like, is it Nagy's offense? Is it, you get the, like, is it Nagy's offense? Is it Lasers? Is it John DeFilippo's offense? At the end of the day, in my opinion, they're all the same. But so, here's another good example of Desai doing something up front to create some havoc. If you take a look at this first sack, this is the first third down of the game. You look over on the right-hand side, you bet that's Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, and take a look at what they do to the defense in front of them right here. They're going to run a stunt. So you've got 2 edge rushers that completely confuse these two. Like, Quinn cutting inside, and he's ultimately going to get the sack. You're going to notice has pulled the running back way out of position, and the guard. This guy's already lost his feet. Like, the Bears get both guys basically through. Matt gets held. You've seen it before. And Quinn just lights up Joe Burrow without a chance. Desai was willing to play games up front because what did he have to lose? Especially on these long passing downs. And the Bengals offensive line is not very good. So the Bears aren't probably not going to have 5 sacks every single week. This is more something that I would say we celebrate and we say, yay! We're glad it happened. Then we expect this every single week, especially against a Browns team that's extremely, extremely sound up front. But you got to get sacks against the bad teams before you're ever going to get sacks against the good teams. And the Bears have had enough problems creating pressure against the against the bad teams. So I was super excited to see this right here. But so let me take a quick look at my sheet so that we can go over some other snazzy defensive plays before we get to the juice of what everybody wants. So we'll go through, let's get this rolling so that the ticker follows me. So a couple more that I want to go through. We're going to go through some good and some bad. Right here, you're going to see another run stop, this one out of cover 2 mostly. So this is like a 2-yard gain. The fact that the Bears were able to have so many defensive backs as far back as they were, like, this is a relatively light box out of a Bear front, which, hey, look at that. Yet another example. This is actually a similar front to what the Rams used against them, but with, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 on 7 favors the Bengals. So given the fact that the Bears were able to shut out the Bengals rushing attack for the most part with the guys that they had, did a lot for their ability to cover. Now, as far as, let's see, we go a little bit further, we're going to see not everything was rosy in this defense. It still has its problems. I don't want to sing its praises too much because somebody like Duke Shelley here in the bottom, what you're about to see is basically an isolation route where they pull everybody over here. They're going to run like a 2-man game, but they don't expect that to get anything. The big thing on this third down is that they were able to get Duke Shelley in an ISO, and he's nowhere close. Eddie Jackson has to come in and make technically a touchdown saving tackle. Obviously, that's a little loose of the word, but if you watch Shelley right here, you're going to see he gets completely caught off guard by the break and ultimately completely loses his man. That's not what you want. Like, I think it's more than fair to say that you do not want to see your starting nickel corner completely lose his footing, let alone his man. And then a couple plays later, what is it we got here? Was it this play? No, it's not. Thank you so much, Bucket Stats. Thank you. Seriously, every little bit helps. But so as far as, it's not this play, it's the next one, but it will get there when it gets there. One nice thing that I liked is that because the Bears were playing so many different games up front, just chucking stuff at the defense, whenever the Bengals did go play action, they tended to get a guy in his face, which forced a quick throw. Not every single play action not every defense expects a guy to get downhill on play action, and the Bears used to get absolutely killed with this, but they were able to get the ball in part out of Joe Burrow's hands because they had somebody there to at least push it out of him, and in this case, even Duke Shelley's able to get right there and make a tackle. Now, there is a cost to playing dime, and it's a matter of whether the Bears or whether teams against the Bears are willing to take advantage of it, but that's when, if you take a look here, you've got thank you so much, Bob. Fat cheese. Huh. Are you a Packers fan? But you can say that in the chat or don't. Feel free to, at your discretion. But so, anyways, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that's DeAndre Houston Carson right there. You're going to see the Bengals break off a definitely not all that small run. It's not some huge gash, but when you're able to run for 9 yards, obviously dime starts to look worse. Like, dime isn't successful over time when you've, that makes sense. That makes sense, Bob. But so when you do run dime, your cost is that you need to be able to make these kinds of plays up front. That's what you're generally trying to avoid are these sorts of run gashes. And here it's a beautiful little counterplay. Like I personally think that we can acknowledge as Bears fans when other teams do things that are really pretty. And if this is the one I remember, it isn't. This is just a nice outside run where Hicks ends up fouled up. He can't get every single play right, and the Bengals are able to pick up 9 yards. Now, it's just a matter of whether or not teams are willing to stick with the run. And against the Browns, I tend to think that they will. The trouble is that when you live by the run game, you die by the run game. And here Eddie Jackson made a play that I think it's fair to say that absolutely zero Bears fans were expecting him to make, where you're about to see Eddie Jackson burst through the line off of a run or a wide receiver trying to block his man and make a play. Like, credit to him. This is exactly the same thing Nagy was trying to do. It's very in vogue. I was not lying. This actually comes from like the McVay style of thinking of trying to use wide receivers to add extra people in the running game. The trouble is that in this case, Eddie Jackson busts straight through and makes a play, and it's not one everybody or anybody who's like, I love the fact that Eddie, Mr. No Tackle Jackson, made a run stop. I thought that was hilarious. And here's the thing. Was Kindle Vildor good? I don't know. Did Kindle Vildor show up on key downs? Absolutely. Because here in this fourth down right here, or like here on a fourth down, you're going to see Kindle Vildor make a really nice little play against man coverage. So again, I would actually tell you that this is just as much scouting as it is anything else, because seriously, Joe Burrow is not throwing anything other than these little hook routes, and they're getting snuffed out by a Bears defense that knew they were coming. So credit to Desai, credit to the corners, because you have to give Vildor the credit on these kinds of things. I think there are zone plays where we could pick on Vildor, and if we have time in the stream, because there's a lot to get to, that we can go through those. But suffice to say, I think that the Jalen Johnson was really phenomenal. Yeah, problem child, he did kind of hold him, but you got to remember that on plays like this, especially on fourth down, you get a lot of credence, especially because the ball's snapped about here, they're throwing about here, so you're right at that like, what is that word? You're right at that contact line, because anything within 5 yards is a very, very legal in terms of contact, as long as you're not lighting people up. And yeah, so what is that, Derek? We used the phrase extremely okay when it came to Vildor last year. I would tell you that in man, Vildor absolutely belongs. In zone, he's still working on it. The bright side is that, again, being very blunt with you guys, if you were to ask me right now, what do I think of Duke Shelley, I would tell you, I don't think he belongs in the NFL. I don't mean that as like some horrible thing. A lot of special teamers don't. But as a corner, I don't think he's quite there. Kindle Vildor, on the other hand, I think he belongs. Like, that's a good pick out of the 5th round. It's just a 5th rounder, so you have to adjust your expectations. Pace has hit so many 5th rounders, like freaking Bilal Nichols, which should not happen on the defensive line, that I think people have started to expect more out of like 5th rounders than I think they should. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. That's just the whole, like, you get the idea. And yeah, the Browns' offensive line is very, very, very good. So the Bears will have their hands full, and we will get a lot of good information out of that. Continuing with the defense, we'll finish on the 4 straight turnovers. So seriously, plays like this are the bread and butter. Like, here the Bears are sitting in a deep cover 2 against an I formation, and you know exactly what I'm about to tell you. It's first down, the Bengals run it, and they get nothing. They get nothing at all. In fact, they actually lose yardage. When you take a look at this from behind, what you're going to see is that Robert Quinn actually makes himself a little bit of a play, as he's going to knife through the defensive line and turn this run outside, while Angelo Blackson gets outside to then finish the run against a double team, forcing or allowing Quinn to get back in the play. Like, it's let me see, what does it say about stopping the run? Yeah, it's the sort of thing where what I would tell you is that the interesting part about this game wasn't necessarily that the Bears were able to pass everything, or it's not that they were able to just like stuff out the pass. They did a good job of snuffing out the pass. It was that they were able to force the Bengals, who want to be a balanced offense, into being imbalanced, and I thought they did that really well. Here you're going to see Kindle Vildor on what looks like a cover 4, so I'll walk through what cover 4, or what cover 3, cover 4 in this case. It's closer to cover 3. But so here I would tell you that if you watch Jalen versus watching Kindle Vildor, this is where I worry about him personally. Like, Vildor in this case, I would say, is too focused on getting to his zone spot. Think Tashawn Gibson. If you've watched this channel for much, we talk about him guarding grass. Whereas Jalen Johnson is focused on how do I stop this route. So in this case, I don't know what Vildor thinks he's guarding, but when Shelley completely gives up his man on the outside, Vildor ends up caught a little too deep to really do anything against, well, anybody. And so I'm not about to say that, again, when it comes to Vildor and man, he knows what he's doing. Vildor in zone, he's working on it. But that's where I would pick on him a little bit, that his zone stuff in particular it's not his best work. He does what he can. He tries to be effective. He's not totally ineffective. But compare that to, again, we talked about the difference between him and Jalen Johnson. Remember, Jalen's got the exact same assignment over here. And what you're going to see is that while he does drop to his cover 4 spot, he's staring directly at his wide receiver right here. And when that wide receiver makes his break, he's chopping his feet to already get after him. Whereas in this case, the wide receiver's broken and Vildor's already sitting on the wrong side. I don't want to pick on him, because that's not the point. The point is to I want to make it clear that somebody was like, hey, Rob, you're talking up the defense. And I am, because the defense played pretty well. But I don't want to make it sound as if the defense was just absolutely impregnable, because they had their dark spots. The thing was, they had too many plays where they did something a little bit more like the back-to-back that we're about to see, where they were able to make the Bengals very uncomfortable. See here, this is the second half now. The Bengals get the message, and this is about to be a Jalen Johnson play, so you can watch him specifically, because hooray, this is going to be awesome. But so the Bengals realize that their real only shot is if they attack the Bears deep. And the way that they're going to try to do that now, the Bears are in what looks like cover 4. Or it's probably not cover 4. It looks like quarter, half. That's our big meme from last week, right? Where you've got Eddie Jackson and Jalen Johnson here in a cover 4 setup, and then 4. And then this guy over here, Tashawn Gibson, playing more standard cover 2. The big key here is that you're going to see the Bengals try to get this deep post route. And the reason these things usually work is because this Eddie Jackson here has absolutely zero responsibility on getting deep and getting backwards, but Jalen Johnson then has to keep up with something out of his zone. Here's the thing, though. he does a great job of it. I mean, after playing short all game, Johnson is able to read this route out and stick with it, and the throw's actually pretty good. Like, all things told, right here, Jalen breaks, he runs with his guy, and maybe you could ask for the throw to be a little bit more, like, in the middle of the field, but even then, I think Joe Burrow would then risk Tashawn Gibson getting a little bit too involved. So he puts that ball out for his receiver, who slows down probably a little unnecessarily, and Johnson just gets out there, gets a hand on it, and knocks the ball away. I'm with you, he's saying. When I saw them throw the ball deep, I was like, oh no, they figured it out. They figured out how to actually try to stop this thing. And then the replay comes up. It's a good throw with, oh my gosh, Akeem Cheapers. I didn't notice this until like right now. Check out Akeem Hicks up front, who comes around on a stunt and explodes Joe Burrow. I'm surprised. Maybe they thought Joe was flopping in this case, but because I'm almost surprised that's not a roughing the passer call, but they didn't. And Akeem Hicks just absolutely annihilates Joe Burrow after the play. And then Jalen gets a hand on it. So he pops the ball out right there and is able to just knock the ball away. Like, Jalen Johnson looked really, really good. Yeah, I think that might have been a flop, all things told. That's wild. That's some James Harden energy. But by the way, if anybody is a member, let me know what emotes y'all want. I know, corny. We're talking about emotes in the middle of a football stream, but I have to, because I know there are a bunch of emotes, and I want to eventually see the chat full of Bears emotes, but we need more. But so anyways, let's get to it. So this is the play that I was, is it? Not quite, but it's a good little Mac sack right there. So let's take a look here. This is a nice little play by Mac, where what you're about to see is just a little stunt that lets Mac get around his man, tear him up. Seriously, the Bears were running games all day long. So in this case, you've got Mac coming around, Akeem Hicks knifing through. They did something to keep the Bengals on their toes basically all game long. It's also a blown play by the Bengals, because if you take a look at the wide angle, one thing that's pretty hilarious is I want you to notice that you're going to see both of these guys go into block. 3 wide receivers. Yeah, thank you, Emmett. Thank you so much. But so you're going to see 3 wide receivers, or 3 linemen and 2 wide receivers all come out to block for a screen, and absolutely nobody goes out to do anything. Like, this is hilarious to me. So if you take a look at this, you're going to see that Joe Burrow has now looked to throw a screen pass to nobody, which is hilarious. Like, so it doesn't just happen to the Bears. The Bears aren't the only ones who end up wildly confused on offense sometimes. Seriously, watch through this. Like, this is so funny. I've never seen this before, as Burrow seems to look out and say, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Absolutely nobody's there. Like, because I think it's this guy who then eventually figures out, oh shoot, I was supposed to catch a screen pass, wasn't I? But he doesn't. And the Bears ended up taking a nice and easy sack there on, what was that, 3rd down? Something like that. But I thought that one was hilarious. Had that marked down. Let's see. Where's Mac off the stunt? Oh, that off of stunt. So I know you guys are Bears fans. And if you're Bears fans, that means you like counter running. So we have to talk about, it's the one after this. Because at this one, we could probably tip the hat to the Bengals a little bit. Seriously, thank you so much, Emmett Williams. Super kind of you. But so the Bengals run this nice little counter action that is just absolutely like classic counter running. It does exactly what they expect it to. And honestly, it's pretty old school, because I don't see this a ton all here. If you don't know what counter is, all you're going to see is Joe Burrow offer the ball to the running back, who starts here and then goes the direct opposite way. And if you watch Adecho and Blackson and Vildor, everybody ends up sucked on into the middle, and they pull a bunch of guys around the outside edge of the defense. This debatably the Bengals' best play of the game. Like, from a cleanliness perspective, from an offense perspective, they get just about everybody blocked, and it's, believe it or not, it's Adechow right there, number 50, who gets just a little piece of the running back right there that apparently seems to force him to stumble. If not, it would have probably been Gibson, but this is a really, really, really nice play. Oh, no kidding, Brandon. That's it's a wide receiver windback. That makes a ton of sense. But so Good call out. It's a neat little play. So I take it that the whole bit is that then they get the wide receiver coming across, pulling this through. That makes a ton of sense. I see that. But so I love that kind of stuff. Those sorts of designs are always really fun to watch. Then what is this? I'll just skip forward because we'll give the people what they want to see. These are, again, the kinds of games that Sean Desai was able to run with. They were able to get, if you take a look at this, they get Mac over here, and he's about to do almost exactly what the Bengals do to Fields later in the game, as you're going to see him drop out of this and into coverage, and you guessed it, that's Roquan Smith coming off on a blitz. And so if you take a look at what this does to the Bengals offensive line, and seriously, tip of the hat to Desai for how well he was able to just keep the Browns offensive line and pass protection on their toes. They never see Roquan coming. So this is a 4-man rush with a linebacker blitz that just screams straight on through. So if you watch this Bengals offensive line with Ogletree in this hole right here, gosh, am I screwing up words? I feel like I might be. But anyways, back to it. With Ogletree and Mac right here, your general mic point is going to be in this direction, such that if Ogletree comes, you've then got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys ready to make the blocks, which is exactly why Roquan, who's so good at blitzing and so good at playing in coverage, is the weapon that he is, because seriously, the Bengals offensive line never sees it coming. He gets right on home. Joe Burrow just got the snap beat out of him. This was a rough day for him. Somebody asked, brief opinion on Nagy, fire or stay. What if I said, I don't know. He's not going to get fired next week. That's definitely Roquan. What are you talking about, Waleed? That right there, 58. Bada boom. But so anyways, so this is, I think that Nagy's got plenty of time to actually show us what he's made of. I think he's shown us plenty of what he's made of, and he's really got to show good reason to keep him around. But that's what the rest of the football season's for. I'm all for making hire, fire, and keep decisions nearer to the end of the season. It's just week 2, and I don't think anybody's necessarily trying to chase him out of the building. But so you get the idea. But so let's see. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, it took some time, but you could do this too, because I see you in the chat. When's Trevathan coming back? I have no idea. But so yeah, then they go third down right here. Let's go through. I love that Roquan blitz. That's so good. But so then, this was a nice little play. One that I really did not anticipate. Thank you, Grant. Good to have you on board. 39-20. Yeah, you got to have everything written out these days. If the more organized you are, the better, right? But so this is a play that I found really interesting, because this was one that actually went horribly wrong, but the Bears totally got things right. If you take a look at this, what you're about to see is 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5. They send a 5-man blitz. 5-man blitz is good. I love 5-man blitzes because generally speaking, you can cover with 6 on the back end, and you can get 1-on-1. So when you have pass rushers like Khalil Mack, even Robert Quinn, who is not on the field in this case, you can put a lot of pressure on offensive lines just by playing with 5, exactly like what the Rams did. The problem is, take a look at Duke Shelley right here. Oh, this is rough. Duke Shelley gets toasted. I mean, dusted. And frankly, even Eddie Jackson gets beat. But let's see if everybody remembers. Do you know what play this is? Does anybody remember what's about to happen next? Because what could have been a broken tackle for a touchdown at absolute worst, or maybe 5 to 10 more yards with Shelley coming over the top, ends up being, drumroll please, does anybody remember? It is Eddie Jackson's fumble. He forces a fumble right here, which is hilarious. But so exactly. So they make the strip, they get it out of it, and the big reason that I'd like to point this out is because in this case, this was one of those examples of everything just going right for the Bears. They were able to get some pressure, but Duke Shelley trouble that he is, ended up giving up a huge play over the middle on a throw that Burrow really, really likes. Like, let's take a look at the throw specifically. They were able to get, in this case, you've got Johnson in coverage, Vildor in coverage, and they get this whole open area of the field to throw into, which is exactly what Burrow wants, a nice little throw to the middle that, if you remember, would get you like here on the sidelines at the same distance. So in this case, the ball goes to Eddie Jackson, or like the ball comes there. I actually would argue that Jackson doesn't take a phenomenal angle on it, but he's able to pop the ball out. So sure. T-Live, yes, what's up with Thomas Graham? I would tell you he's a rookie. Like, he's a zone defender that isn't extraordinarily athletic. It takes these guys time. And so I look at it and I think to myself that if Graham is going to show us something out of the 6th round, and he didn't show a ton in preseason. He was inconsistent. He had his moments, but I wouldn't say that he's definitely ready to necessarily play yet. But it was really interesting. Like, it'll be interesting to see Graham grow because he's a smart player. I love smart defensive backs. I think that zone defense is awesome. Brandon here in the chat is completely convinced. I don't know if you've intentionally convinced me, but I love zone defense, and he's exactly those kinds of players like that would fit as a zone lurker, as a nickelback, but he's got to get there per se. And I agree with you, Joe, talking about Tonga. Like, Tonga right now looks like a player way better than his 7th round station. I mean, it's hard to call him not a steal because I'd argue he's like 4th round value maybe right now, even if he just ends up being a guy that pushes and shoves in the pocket and makes run stops occasionally. Now, the 7th round, cheap labor, unfortunately. But yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I would personally love to see Ejax recognize this ever so slightly sooner, but I don't want to attack Ejax too hard, especially considering that he made a play. So Ejax had a really nice game here today, as did Jalen Johnson. But so let's see, we've got a whole lot of offensive notes around now, which cannot surprise anybody. But so let's see, next up we've got, I think after this, before we get to offense, because I know everybody's just salivating to talk about a Bears offense that was, believe it or not, guys, this is kind of hard to watch. Like, I think that the Bears did a lot of things that were good. I think that they did a lot of things that, should have worked. They did not catch a lot of breaks on offense, all things told. But you get the idea. I agree. It's Bryson about needing a center. But I think Jenkins will help a lot too. But so let's see here. Let's find it. Because believe it or not, I failed to write down the Roquan pick. So let's see. There it is. Hooray. So this play, I thought, was beautiful. I don't know if Roquan made this on purpose. Brandon, if you're in the chat, I would love to hear what you think, because it's always hard to tell between a linebacker that figures out where things are supposed to go, considering that a lot of things happen in the back of their heads. But one thing Roquan's really developed a knack for is being this beautiful zone lurker that will get in the way of passing lanes that he can't even see. So in this case, you're going to see Roquan. He spies out what's going on. I don't know if you saw him take a glance over there, but with a 3 wide receiver bunch set, I think he might have looked and realized that he just needs to fade over, because the chances are very low that with the whole offense flowing this way, that he's not needed over there. This was really, really beautiful, in my opinion. Like, this is something that is absolutely classic zone defense. So make sure that you take a look at 58 right here in the middle, because with a 3 wide receiver set, it looks like he recognizes generally what's going on. A quick peek over here shows him this guy's headed out to the flat. That guy's probably going down the sidelines, I think he thinks. And he sees this one going over here. So he knows there's no sense for him to stay right here. If there is, he trusts his corner, Jalen Johnson, on the back end. And so he fades over, finds Joe Burrow looking in this direction, just keeps his eyes on him. One thing I love about this is it looks to me like Roquan just gets in position and stays on. But so, Joe, I would love to hear you, so there's some terminology stuff that I know I'm still getting a handle on. When you say 3-4 push, let me know what you mean. But it looks like this whole defense is, okay, that makes sense. That makes tons of sense, Brandon. So basically what you're saying is, just so that I can catch it up, it is a little bit of right place, right time, as what's going to basically happen is that the running back is going to flare out, and Roquan follows him coming out of the backfield, and as he shades over to stop the running back, Burrow puts the ball in harm's way, Roquan picks it up, and scores his first NFL touchdown off of a sick juke move that if you pulled that off in Madden, you'd be ecstatic. Like, I know I would. Are you kidding me? That's one of those where, like, Roquan, I love this. So let's watch this, because this is so fun, in my opinion, where when you see a defender just go, whoop, right there, absolutely dances the running back in space, and then turns on the jets and gets downhill, gets in the end zone. Hurrah. It's Bryson. I got to tell you, you're talking to the wrong person asking about whether Jalen Johnson's better or worse than Prince Amukamara, because I personally think Prince Amukamara was a lot better than people gave him credit for being as a man defender. But I'll tell you that I would say, at least so far this season, he looks like Kyle Fuller left quite an impression on him, and I mean that in a very positive way. He and Fuller are playing not dissimilar, but similar-ish styles, and I think that that's really cool. So here's the end zone view that folks are asking for. How does Roquan compare to other inside linebackers? I would say Roquan right now looks very, very good in coverage. Dangerous. Easy to follow, or like easy to watch as far as a linebacker goes. I think it's always hard because plays like this, okay, you want to know my personal opinion, 100%, is I personally think that when it comes to all-pro lists and so on and so forth, people grade linebackers and defensive backs really poorly. People tend to watch coverage stats, or not even coverage stats. They tend to watch interceptions. They tend to watch pass deflections. Marcus Cooper had 5 picks in like 2014, and he was considered a good corner by many because if they looked up his interceptions, he had 5. Even though he was so bad at the time, he just got thrown at constantly and caught a couple of breaks. The reason that I point this out is because, in my opinion, it's silly plays like this that when you're on a decent defense and you score the occasional touchdown, get you a reputation. This play, had Roquan made exactly the same play that he had in his hands against the Saints game last year, makes him an all-pro. That's my honest opinion, is that football writers can be kind of fickle. Like, it's not cool. Nobody wants to admit it. But when it comes to grading inside linebackers, plenty of times you can get on a list for having a billion tackles. You can get on a list for having a really nice pass deflection here or there. In this case, I would tell you that Roquan Smith is definitely someone I want on my team, suffice to say. It's hard to grade him compared to others because him and Fred Warner are different. Him and Zach Cunningham are really different. Him and Patrick Queen are really different. But I would say he's a very good blitzer. He's really good in coverage. And that kind of makes me not really care like how he is against the run. The trouble comes when you want to offer one defender almost Khalil Mack level money. But I don't know. Like, the defensive payment argument is just so bizarre because I look at guys like Roquan. He deserves every penny that he's going to get. The Bears do not have a whole lot of money. The Bears are going to find that money to pay Roquan, no chance. But you get the idea. Like, the only answer is yes, Brandon. I mean, come on. But so this play's stellar. If you know what it is, you know what it is. It's not this one. Brandon going hard in the chat right now. But so let's see. Right now, so we're about to get to Jalen Johnson's interception, if memory serves, and this one's all scouting, from what I can tell. Brandon, you pop in. You're the defensive back expert. If anybody who doesn't know Brandon, he's the guy I ask about all this stuff. But seriously, Jalen just read this route out. He refused in all cases to be fooled, as you're going to see him hop off right here. Now he's got nice distance, and as he watches Burrow kind of sells that he's going outside all the way. And so once he sees, once he sees him plant these 2 feet, certainly obviously he's got his arm over right here. But so as you watch Burrow Burrow tends to step into his deep throws, and I think Jalen knows that as soon as he hits his drop right there, that's not a throw it deep drop, and he's not throwing it out there. So really his only option is to throw the standard curl route that he always throws. Jalen in this case gets right in front of the ball because why wouldn't he? He's already there, and picks off his first career interception. I mean, he makes it look easy. Jalen Johnson played so well this game. That's T. Higgins too. That is no slouch of a receiver, and Jalen Johnson completely shut him out. I mean, he deserves everything that he's getting right now, and exactly like you're saying, Brandon, it's quarters. Like if you as you watch this defense specifically, you're going to notice that they've basically got it to where the safeties are isolating these two areas of the field with the corners having these whole gaps right there, and Jalen's just sitting on it. I mean, exactly like you're saying, CV, this is one of those that it's scouting meets like a proper read on the situation, and he rips the ball right out of his hands. I mean, it's beautiful. We could and are talking about defense quite a bit. There's a lot to go over in this stream, but it's hard for me not to just point out all of these guys that did really, really well. Defense had a fun day. They did a lot of things well. They did a lot of things poorly, but a lot of the things that they did well were things that they needed to do well after the Rams game, suffice to say, because they made a lot of mistakes in in that Rams game, but this was exactly what you want to have coming off of it. And then personal opinion, which look, think what you will. I would tell you with a straight face that this play right here was not that one. Dadgummit. I mean the pick. Where's the pick? Let's see. I think it's not that. Has it already happened? Did I skip past it? I must have skipped past it. But so let's see here. Going back a little further. Yep, here it is. This one to me read of a quarterback that look, I'm not going to say like, oh, he lost all faith, but the Bears just put so much pressure on him on a play like this, where in this point you've got Eddie Jackson cutting down from underneath with Jalen Johnson sitting over top. Like these are the kinds of plays that once you are winning in the short game, you can throw at people. If for anybody watching, like if you want to criticize the Nagy defense or the Nagy offense for not getting down the field enough, this is why you are accurate for doing so. By the way, like the one thing that I want to point out is that at this point, Sean Desai looks like a lion toying with his food, like a cat just tossing his prey around, because what you're about to see is that they've got Tashawn Gibson, the grass guarder himself, sitting in the back of the field, and Eddie Jackson's going to cut underneath right here with Jalen Johnson popping out, and when they make this play, what you end up with is Joe Burrow peeking down the middle of the field. He's got Duke Shelley on him, but apparently he's just a little too worried to make this throw, and then Burrow checks to his, or I think he already checked to his right at that point, but so to me anyways, you see a coverage setup that, so Burrow's going to make this read right here, and as he makes that read, he doesn't see anything open because Jalen's in perfect positioning, meaning that then by the time he looks back, Ogletree's blitz gets straight on through. That running back misses a block. We can call it as it is. I could call it a great blitz, but really, like if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd say that the running back should do a better job than this, and with Ogletree in his face, he does a nice job getting up, contesting the throw, and Blackson picks it off. Like, I am a little surprised. Not a little surprised. Who am I kidding? Like, I'm with anybody else who says, like, yes, okay, in hindsight, you should have pitched it. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime play for a lineman like this. I'm amazed he caught it at all. Like, yeah, exactly, Case. Thank you for saying it, because when I look at this, like, this ball comes out quick, it bounces weird, his hands are tied up, and he just snags it. Like, good on him for catching it in the first place, let alone the fact that he breaks one tackle. But so, yeah, we can talk about offense here in a little bit. Like, you get to the play that I think everybody wants to go over, and believe it or not, this will be my first time watching it, so we can go through it together. But so, yeah, Case, I feel like it's all reflex. Talking about how he lucked into catching it, like that seems like the sort of thing that he just sort of does what he does. And in this case, I would actually call this, looking at it again, a really nice play by the receiver, personally. Look, not everything in football is zero-sum. Vildor gets beat down the field, sure. He's more than able to, like, get this. If Burrow had put this ball down the sidelines, nothing they could have done about it to stop a touchdown. But instead, you're going to see the receiver break so late that Eddie Jackson, who doesn't know where the ball is, you got to remember, the ball is thrown, but Eddie doesn't have any idea where that ball's going. He's just watching the man that he knows is open. So when Chase goes from straight vertical to straight inside, Eddie tries to then bend that route out, and he hits Vildor. Eddie is the kind of guy that is always going to play with anticipation, for better or for worse. And this is exactly the kind of play that you make. Like, great late break. A lot of guys slow down or like kind of fan their feet a little bit. But in this case, and I can't remember who number 1 is by the looks of it. Is that Jamar Chase? Somebody who knows. Let me know. That's number 1. It's probably Chase, but I wouldn't pin this on the safety. This is a really, really nice play by the receiver that he breaks on it as late as he does to then create the touchdown opportunity out of a very good play. Yeah, I had a feeling it was Jamar Chase. Like, seriously, it's going to sound like I'm defending the DBs too, or maybe more than I should, but I would tell you, like, in this specific case, you want a little bit more out of Vildor. Don't get me wrong. Like, he just gets flat out beat down the sidelines, and he's probably sitting on the underneath routes too. Like, after all this talk about how Burrow's only throwing, like, between these areas of the field, chances are that Vildor was not anticipating Chase to just burn him down the sidelines. And if I was the safety looking at this, I'm thinking I got to stop him here. Like, I got to go make a touchdown saving tackle. So when Chase just puts the brakes on and catches the ball there, yeah, I'd be shocked too. Not the kind of play that you want on your low light reel, that's for sure. And plenty of people are going to say that he blew it because the safety should have it. And don't get me wrong, I mean, you want him to. But sometimes these guys just get put in a bind, and there's nothing that they can do. And in this case specifically, Eddie goes from, okay, shoot, I got to stop a deep vert, to, oh my word, he's cutting inside. Somebody mentioned that it's impressive as it is that that Eddie got there over when he did. So here's the throw. Eddie's already reacted to it. Let's take a look. I kind of think he gets a sense for it. Like, I don't know, Case, whether Burrow underthrew it intentionally or not. I don't think so. I can't think of a quarterback that deliberately wants to let his defender back into the play. But either way, that about sums up the defense's game. I mean, so they give up a touchdown later, but these sorts of plays, right, here, what is it? Yeah, the one after the pick. So these sorts of, like, quick transition plays are the kinds of things that I personally look at, and I never want to pin him on the defense because, as silly as it sounds, I think getting thrown on the field at the 9-yard line is an extremely mentally tough position to be in. And here it looks like Duke Shelley just gets mano-a-mano'd. Like, so that is, yeah, right. No, that's Vildor, isn't it? But so Vildor just gets beat by 85. I think that's T. Higgins, who's a better player than him. Like, I'm not trying to pick on the Vildor, but Vildor is not the pedigree kind of player that you want to put up against, or against, what's his name? You get the idea. Yeah, Vildor. But so, John, you're asking, like, where's our worry needle? So here is one. Let's draw it out, right? So we've got one of those little Geiger counter things. That's 1. That's 10. Rams game, I would tell you that this thing was like nigh on there. Like, the secondary looked absolutely terrible. This specific game, I would probably tell you that the secondary concern dropped to like a deep 5. Because Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson, even Tashawn Gibson has his moments where I would tell you that they look like very serviceable players. The problem being that they've obviously got to deal with Vildor not being perfect, and he's not going to be perfect against these outside mammoth receivers that he's going to have to play. Duke Shelley looks like a problem, but DHC looks solid. So blending together the 10 that we had at the Rams game to now, I would put it at about a 5. I'm seeing a lot of 4s. I think 4 makes sense for this game specifically, but counting the Rams game and remembering it and not forgetting it happened altogether, that's where I'd probably put my concern. If you wanted to talk about one thing that would help the Bears out a whole lot, believe it or not, I think it's going to be number 90. Oh gosh, how am I forgetting his number? He's not 99, is he? He's not 90 either. Eddie Goldman? 91. So once you replace Nichols in the starting lineup with Goldman right there, I think that that's going to give a nice boon to the defense because he's just a dominant run stuffer, and he looked great in the in the preseason. So if he can get back on the field, Peter, I agree with you. I think Mario Edwards will add a little bit of juice to the defensive line himself, but I think that Goldman in particular will be that nice stalwart player that the Bears want to have. But either way, are there any other questions that you have about the defense? I'm going to look through, quickly, see if I can find that weird formation in my notes. But you guys know what time it is. It's Dalton and/or Fields. We're going to start with Fields because, look, I can show you some Dalton stuff. Dalton stuff, you're going to see, a whole lot of him getting the ball out. I would argue Dalton played a really good game. That's not what anybody wants to hear, and it wasn't a sexy game, but it was Dalton being a game manager, running the ball when he had the opportunity to run the ball, passing the ball when he where he needed to pass the ball. His strike to Allen Robinson was very well played, etc., etc. Saul, if you ask me, our weakest link on the defense, it's no doubt Duke Shelley. I'm not questioning it. That's our biggest problem. But yeah, so let's see here. Fields is obviously the future. What do I think the Bears should do against the Browns? Brandon had it. Play base. You got to stop the run. You got to find a way to stop the run. And you've got to figure out how to slow down Nick Chubb so that you can force a Landry-less and first game OBJ Browns team with an injured quarterback to make plays against your weak secondary, or weakish in places. You get the idea. The Browns are a very good team, but the best way that you're going to beat him is by shutting down Nick Chubb. And if Goldman comes back, with Hicks and Goldman, it's not undoable, but you gotta wind that clock back to 2018 because where you're trying to beat them is that same Bears team that shut down Dalvin Cook, that same Bears team that shut down Todd Gurley, those teams that were able to just put the clamps on some of the best running games in football. You got to have Hicks and Goldman find themselves from 4 years ago and just come back to there. But so let's see. Ryan, I didn't. Oh, in high school? I actually didn't know that. I still need to go back and watch QB1. I feel like a terrible analyst because I haven't gone through and watched a literal TV show with Fields on it, but I haven't. Let's see. Yeah, that's totally true, Harrison. That was a very weird Titans game, by the way. But so, right now, Dave, the lineman that you're showing most improved, ironically enough, he's not on the field in this picture. I would tell you that the lineman at this moment that has shown the most improvement is probably Robert Quinn. He definitely doesn't count as a lineman, so to speak, but Hicks has been Hicks. Actually, Hicks has kind of resurged to where he was, but I would tell you that Quinn actually looks like a solid player. Quinn doesn't look hurt, which is huge for Robert Quinn, but I don't want to go all rule of 3 because we all know how that worked out last time. At this point, I'm just going to keep things quiet a little bit. So far, a lot of the Bears linemen look like they have looked. I would say Khalil Mack might be the most regressed, but that's partially because Nichols looks like Nichols, good, not great. Hicks looks like Hicks again, which is quite a resurgence. Quinn looks solid. Mack looks good, but you get the idea. I don't want to go all after him. So the goofy thing about, because you guys know, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about JF1. So the goofy thing about this, and if you haven't watched it already, I have to recommend the QB School. JT O'Sullivan rocks. If you've not watched JT O'Sullivan's stuff, you should watch JT O'Sullivan's stuff. He does a great job. But he played quarterback in the NFL, so he's gonna have a lot stronger analysis. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna give you guys as good of an analysis as I can. But I was not a 9-year journeyman quarterback in the NFL, if you can't tell. And so he's going to know a lot of the footwork things better than I am. I'm just going to be able to give you my impressions from a schematic standpoint of what I can see and go off of gut feel, knowledge, things I've seen work, so on and so forth. But you get the idea. He did a 30-minute analysis on Fields that I thought was really solid. But I want to just point you in that direction before you hear me repeat a whole lot of things. Hey, Akusai, that's a solid that's a solid spot. Peter, JT not only did a whole bunch of Fields college things, but he also did one on this game specifically just a little while ago. But so to start by talking about Fields, we've got to talk ever so little about Andy Dalton. So thank you, Joseph. Great to see ya. So somebody asks, is Fields ready? He's as ready as he's going to get. I would tell you right now that if Fields could theoretically sit a pretend year, that it's not like it would hurt him. But if you can't tell from watching Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and not Trey Lance, who's being held out, and Mac Jones, who absolutely refuses to make a mistake, it's not as if Ryan, I see you. No worries. We're going to talk about it. But so it's not as if Fields, it's not as if any of the rookies are truly ready, right? We're not seeing an Andrew Luck this year, even though we had Trevor Lawrence, generational talent. I would make the argument, and I know Brandon in the chat has made this argument a ton, that rookies start against very tough NFL defenses and get a quick wake-up call as to just how hard NFL defenses play you. This isn't Michigan State. This isn't Rutgers. This isn't Nebraska. I love Justin Fields. I think there's a lot of things Justin Fields did well in this game. We will go through them. But every game is like playing against Alabama. Every game is like playing against the most talented defense you've ever faced when you bump up from that spot to the NFL. And so the idea that there's an adjustment period that people like to act doesn't exist is ridiculous, in my opinion. There is so much to take in as a rookie, so much to do, right? That I would argue is, Joe, I'm stealing from Urban in that every game is like Alabama, because I thought, it was hilarious that an NFL coach actually said that. But you get the idea. In my opinion, when you watch Andy Dalton, we'll probably see him on a couple plays as I just talk in general right here. You're going to see a whole lot of very quick trigger decision making. You're going to see Dalton calmly know where to look, where his protection is, how he's going to attack this defense on third down. Like in this case, if you actually watch the specifics of this play, for instance, you're going to see Darnell Mooney run a curl route directly into this linebacker, and Dalton just chucks the ball out to his side because him and Mooney know that you throw to space. So even though Mooney technically is not even kind of open, right? What NFL quarterbacking looks like is, that's open enough. I just throw it over here. And so he does. He throws it right over there. Guy disappears in front of his face. Third down conversion. In this specific case, I personally think, Derek Reeves, you said this a while ago. And so before I mention what you said, HEC 892, I have no idea how the YouTube notifications work on streaming. They're so weird. Juan Morales, you're awesome. Thank you for joining up. But so, it's Derek Reeves said Dalton looks like what Fields was supposed to look like. I couldn't agree more. Dalton right now, to me, looks like your standard West Coast quarterback. This is another decent example right here. Bears ran a ton of play action. I liked a lot of what they were doing on offense. You get some nice motion at the snap. That's very, very popular at this point, in the NFL. And so you get some play action right there with Mooney coming across the field. This guy crisscrossing right there. Mooney's going to make himself open. Andy delivers the ball. Easy. Andy made the offense look very successful, and Ryan, I'm with you, curls have gotten exhausting. Derek, exactly. I would argue that Andy has looked like what Foles was supposed to look like with legs. But so we'll get into what makes things easy. There were still some clunkers. I hated this play call. Like, it just didn't work at all. I get why you do it. You got to make the defense honor the motion man occasionally. But, man, does it get absolutely blown up as I would argue Damian Williams just doesn't get over here fast enough. I'm not blaming Damian Williams. I don't know whose fault it is, whether it's a timing thing, this or that. But they get their trouble in this specific case. But so... yeah, so at this point, exactly, Joe. I can't agree more. Great to see you, blind squirrel. I'm glad to have you along. But so Dalton ran this offense, and whenever the Bears got into a jam, he was there to bail them out. Like, to give Dalton some credit. Before we get into Justin Fields, a whole lot of people are acting like Andy Dalton has looked just absolutely terrible this season, and I would make the argument Dalton's looked fine. I mean, not crazy good, but this is exactly the play the Bears were missing last year, right? He sees a hole, he gets out of the pocket, and he just targets it downfield. This is not a good play call, so to speak, but Dalton makes it work. I mean, he gets outside of the pocket, delivers a nice ball downfield that ends up caught. The reason that I'm saying that this play call isn't great is because I personally don't love it whenever a play call ends up with everything covered. I would argue that's not what you want. Not to mention, almost every single one of these routes involves everybody stopping. Which, look, if I was going to pick on anything, and I'm not an OC, right? But so when you do end up with things covered, you end up where this guy stops, this guy stops, this guy stops, and the quarterback just doesn't really have any great places to go with it. So when Dalton gets out of the pocket and just hucks it up to Marquise Goodwin, like, way to make a play out of nothing, because there's no crosser coming across the field. There's nobody running. And so because nobody's running, there's not a great way to play street ball, but Dalton makes it happen on 3rd and 12 anyways. Great to see you, Brian Valentine, by the way. But so, yeah. No, I mean, Dalton hasn't thrown it deep a lot. He's attacked the line of scrimmage and 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. I think given a little more time, he would have gotten intermediate overall. But either way, I mean, it's all moot at this point. This is classic Dalton. What you're going to see here is that Kmet and Graham are trying to separate these defenders over the middle, and they just don't do it. So Dalton gets the ball out to his check down. Nice and easy. I mean, this is the sort of thing that I don't want to over belabor the Andy Dalton point all that much, but it's more that I want you to take a note that Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet, and then Jimmy Graham do not get open. None of them. That's Kmet. That's James, that's Graham. You guys can tell I'm really goofing this up. But so the tight ends are running like a triple fan right here, and surprise, surprise, nobody's open. But with Sam Mustipher getting worked in front of his face, Dalton just calmly sticks the ball out and picks up, you guessed it, a super sexy 3 yards, right? Dalton is not the guy who's going to make these big sexy plays, even though we kind of just watched him make one, but he's going to limit the damage on the ones that don't work. Here, Cole Kmet does not separate, so it's funny, Waleed, you're talking about Allen Robinson. Robinson's over here with a safety over the top. If you moonshotted the ball right there, I think it's picked. If you zip the ball, maybe, but that's not Dalton's game. So instead, he takes 3 yards. He lives to fight another down. Waleed, maybe seriously, these are those weird ones with safety help over the top specifically, where it's easy to forget just how quick NFL safeties can get to the edge. Maybe if you painted the end zone corner perfectly, this gets in. But this is not a throw that you want to risk if you don't have to. And so in this case, he didn't. I'm not saying that, I'll tell you if he's wide open. This is one that I can see why a quarterback would go, and look another direction, and he's able to find him later in the game. But so we'll get there, or we'll get here over there. But so he hits Mooney, he picks up 3 yards. The Bears kept trying to run the ball. They did just okay. Mama Mia, we did not miss it yet. But so the Bears did a good job of sticking with a run game that I didn't think gave them much, especially when it's especially when in this case you end up with a whole bunch of linemen going in a lot of different directions. They try to trap play right here when Fields came in. It didn't do a ton. Like, the run game did not help him much, but Cincinnati did a pretty good job stopping it. This is really where Dalton makes his bread and butter. Like, this is a 3rd and 3. It's a true anticipation throw. What you're going to see is Jimmy Graham runs a slant with Allen Robinson running a slant behind it. Jimmy's just a little bit earlier. The whole goal of this play call and this whole play package is to influence this specific linebacker to just move out of the way. And so if he can get him out of the way, Allen Robinson's open at that break. And so what you get right here is Jimmy Graham comes across this corner, follows him outside, which does half of the opening window. Graham is able to move that linebacker to right about there, and you guessed it, there's just enough open room for Dalton to make a very tight window throw, all things told, to Allen Robinson, who hauls in a nice contested catch. This is a good play. Like, it turns out it's Kmet. It's not Graham. But so Kmet basically sets a pick. Like, it's like a moving pick at this point. The Bears do a ton of picking, by the way. Like, a ton of pick stuff. But so Kmet practically sets a pick for this linebacker as Dalton's already loaded to throw. These are the kinds of anticipatory veteran things that you want to look for in Kmet. It's bizarre to me, or not Kmet, in Fields. It's bizarre to me that I'm actually using Andy Dalton here as, like, a good performer in this specific case. Like, after last week's game where I really thought he was super underwhelming, like very milquetoast quarterback, this game he delivered the ball well. Like in this specific game overall, he did a very good job of showing what the offense is supposed to look like and bailing the Bears out of some 3rd downs that they needed a bucket, so to speak. That's what Nate Tice would say anyways. And so here they score, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. Harrison, I don't really know what the Bears are doing with Jimmy Graham. I just know that it's not great. Or at least it's not worth the money. But, that's none of my business. Anyways, so I think we've got some good Dalton stuff. Now it's time to get into Justin Fields, right? I think we can all agree. Dalton ultimately had like a pretty good, or I would say he had one of the best games I've seen him have in years. Like, I watched a good bit of Dalton before he got to the Bears, and it wasn't that good. But instead, he was able to make things happen when he desperately needed to. It's not like a ton of things went his way, but he stayed patient when he had to be. Here, you got a nice little inside zone running play. One of the first time I've seen the Bears pick up more than like 3 yards, hilariously enough. But so, and anonymous, hey, I'd love it. Jimmy Graham dumped his salary in this channel. Like, the things I could do. But so, JP Holtz Luo, good question. I think he's a solid run blocker. I don't want to make too much of him because he's JP Holtz. But so, this was one of those where, again, like another decent. So, I pointed this play out. I put this on my list because I wanted to show that there were false starts on other than just Fields. So this is a play where I don't know if Sam Mustipher's the problem, but you see both Fady and what looks like Peters flinch on this play, and it makes me wonder if Sam Mustipher has some kind of a snapping issue that he's got to work out, because I know him and Fields had issues with this, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the game. Seriously, watch the whole line just about flinch right there. I don't know, but so Elon, the quarterback, I can't believe I'm about to do this. In a shotgun snap, right? So normally the quarterback stands right about here. When he's under center, it's very hard for the quarterback to false start because the ball has to actually hit his hands. Center puts it up under his butt. The quarterback just basically waits for the ball to slap his hands and go. But when you're in the shotgun specifically, what you end up with is sort of a rhythm that a lot of guys get in where they call for it. They just expect the ball to be there because their eyes are a whole lot of other places, and they start drifting backwards. So with their eyes up, that's part of why you see guys fumble snaps fairly often. But or not fairly often, but the occasional shotgun snap where you see guys clearly get like super surprised at where the ball is going. But they keep their eye. They watch the ball in their hands, and then they rock backwards, and it's a rhythm thing. So if they call for it on the proper cadence, they say, and then the ball doesn't come, their body might be going back anyways. And if they do it and the whole defensive line jumps, as happened, they got to give a false start somewhere. So that's generally it. But so let's see. Let me get back to things. Yeah, so Dalton ultimately did, I would say, like a relatively good job, all things told. What is it, Candace, by the way? But so, Ryan, we're going to get there. The Fields stuff has plenty to cover. Look, I would love to just sit here and go through every single Fields play, and we will see. But I wouldn't be too, I wouldn't expect it. But you guys are getting a sense. The last play I wanted to talk about was this one. Sure, it's a taunting flag. That's not the reason I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about how the other thing that Andy does a really good job of is just bailing out of bad plays. We talked about it earlier with the 3-yard completion, but here Andy sees that this Von Bell blitz has just absolutely beaten him. And he knows without any doubt that this ball is not getting completed to David Montgomery. He just kicks the ball out anyways so that it's not intentional grounding. And sure, he gets a taunting flag, but at this point, he's just trying to make sure that he doesn't get absolutely crushed. Emmett, you're incredible. Thank you so much. You're the man. Thank you so much. You have no idea how awesome that is. But so, yeah. Let's see. You'd be amazed. So I've got a little note sheet I have to go through just to find everything where I marked a whole bunch of stuff. Let's see. 12:50. Bears convert a third down here that I think is neat. Draco, which one specifically? It happens. Teams give those things up more than maybe they should. But so like modern day offense, it can be weird. But so let's see. Yeah, the milestone, I've had it weird with Super Chat specifically, but I'm keeping a mental note. But so this was a solid little run. Yeah, make sure you like the video. You guys are amazing. 236? Whoa! But so anyways, Bears were able to get a nice little duo run here. I like watching their run game because it's going to be a viable part of everything. This is considered duo, as I understand it. You're just going to see a bunch of double teams. And so they go double team. Oh, no, it's more like inside zone. And you could tell because Mustafer's trying to work through that linebacker, as is James Daniels. But even so, like they've got a whole bunch of these kinds of plays where it's nice to see them get anything on the ground against not the Rams so that they can try to build some momentum in the running game. But we're about to get into like the straight up field stuff because we need to. But so, oh, yeah, one that we've got to talk about because it's too cool not to, right? Is this next play right here. It's about to play. Look, I could click something, but I don't need to. Where I'm about to bum you guys out. I'm about to excite you. I'm about to bum you guys out at the same time. Because one thing the Bears did that I thought was awesome, and I can't tell if this was designed all the way, by the way, but so the Bears run this little play action ball, and I don't know where Mooney's going. Maybe he's going there with Kmet coming over here, but Mooney kind of quits on his route. Not trying to kill Mooney. He kind of does, where you can kind of see him stop, even though I feel like he might have that edge. But at this point, Dalton's already looked back, and he's found Montgomery, who's wide open, and he kicks the ball out. Now, this is where I'm going to bum you out, right? Goodwin is downfield right here. Goodwin's hold has not happened yet. Dalton's already been roughed at this point. So from here on out, Dave, you are incredible. Thank you. You legend. Thank you so much. But so when this play right here, Montgomery just makes this dirty little move. Then Goodwin holds. We can go over that in a little bit. And Montgomery races down the sidelines for a nice little 41-yard gain. Now, the reason that I bring this up as something that's a little bit of a bummer is because whether this play absolutely should have been so it's a leak action. I see what you mean. Like these two over here with a backside leak. Okay, I see what you're saying. But it looks like Mooney's headed out there. Dalton doesn't see anything. They take the check down. But this should have been a 20-yard gain at least. The trouble is that Goodwin gets a whole
heck of a lot more of his man than I think he intended to. So hopefully that's the kind of thing that gets cleaned up over the next couple weeks, because man, oh man, is Montgomery fun to watch or what when he's got the ball in his hands. Like, he's able to make this cut just so smoothly right there, absolutely dances his man. It's a linebacker too. Maybe a defensive back would have had the tackle because they're a little lighter on their feet, but Montgomery jukes the snot out of him and makes a play out of it. So then the Bears get set back. This is where Justin Fields comes in, and JT O'Sullivan talks about this a little bit. This is one that I think Fields would want to have back. The really weird part about watching Justin Fields' game is that I would tell you right now that when he fires this and that ball shows up right there, I don't think it's bad, right? I mean, I've been watching, just to call it as it is, I've been watching Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky for too long to call a strike like this that is roughly 28 yards as the crow flies like a bad throw. But JT O'Sullivan, again, who I'm just going to pick on because I think he does too good a job and has too much knowledge, would talk about how Fields' footwork right here gets a little bit too close together. So when he ultimately fires, he leaves the ball a little bit further inside than I think he wants to. Whereas if he pushed it out a little more, he might get it to the sideline. So it's Bryson. That's the QB school in this specific case. And Oren, I have no idea why a 10-yard penalty, 25 yards downfield, and a 15-yard unnecessary roughness foul cancel each other out. I don't know. But so the point is, what Sullivan would talk about, and I'm citing him because he's a quarterback, is that anytime you get your defender going that way, hips pointed out, butt back to the sidelines, you have an out route for free. Like, you have anything you want in the sidelines. So where Fields ultimately puts the ball, which is released a smidge late, like he's just now released it and Goodwin's well through his break, it's a nice recovery by the defender who, spins around right here and ultimately helps make a play on the ball. But if Fields does put it more towards the sidelines instead of forcing Goodwin to stop, I think it's an easier completion. Just something to think about. I believe in Justin Fields. Honestly, honest opinion, as we get into all of this, I would tell you that I think Fields came across nervous. I think he seems like he's very in his own head, which is not surprising. It's, that's the thing, Brandon. Thank you for saying it. I can't emphasize enough. This is a hard throw, and the throw Fields makes is not bad. It's not bad. It just could be better. And the elite Fields, the JF1 that everybody wants to see, probably laces that ball out to the sidelines and Goodwin catches it and everybody goes, wow, he's so good. He needs practice. He needs to get comfortable, because the Justin Fields that I'm watching is just a little less comfortable than he normally looks, or at least looked in college. That's the way I would put it, is he's got the talent. You can clearly see the arm. I'm going to keep showing this ball because it's so plain to me. He throws it beautifully, I think, anyways. And I agree, High Tash. That's the thing. JT is really picky when it comes to rookies. That's the trouble, is that when you compare Fields to an NFL quarterback, there were a lot of things that I would say he didn't quite get there on. But with that in mind, I would tell you that I thought there are little things I'm trying to give y'all that are ways to take a look at it where it's not even that Fields is late, because I'm seeing that a little bit. I would say Fields is just not there on time, which I get it. Isn't that the same thing? Kind of. Late, to me, is now you're starting your motion. At this point, you haven't quite started yet. There are plenty of people, Jay Cutler did this all the time, that would wait until they saw the guy break and then Fields through. That's what he did at OSU. At OSU, he would get to here, and then he'd throw the ball because he had the time to do it. Thank you so much, Ryan. You're incredible. Thank you. Every little bit is so huge. But so, anyways, getting back to it, these are the kinds of things that I think you're going to see Fields improve at little by little. You're going to see stronger throws, because this is a nice little pocket that he throws from. It's not a mistake. It's just an improvement point. That's really it. It's Bryson. You ask if it's a lack of chemistry. think a little bit. Like, certainly I think that there is something to be said here. I'm going to look in the camera for this one, about how Fields didn't get any reps with the starters. Like, Brandon, you're in the chat. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm about to say. But Fields wasn't supposed to be playing right now. And right now it's becoming really obvious that he hasn't thrown with these guys, like, all that often. And that's, like, the big thing here is that I think that over the next couple weeks, you're going to see a good bit of improvement. I would not tell you that you're going to just see Justin Fields rise to a top 10 quarterback. If he does, that's incredible. Like, I don't want to say he can't. He's got the talent. I just say don't expect it and be mad when it doesn't happen. He's a rookie. It's going to be very up and down. But with that with that said, I would look you guys in the eyes and say Justin Fields also looked to me like a good rookie quarterback instead of just a rookie like Trubisky did in his 7 INT, 7 touchdown season, where you were kind of looking to see the talent. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to sound like I'm coming after Trubisky here. It's more one of those things where it's like, I can see where Fields is going to get better. Like, I can see where Fields is going to improve. The trouble is that it's not going to happen overnight. Oh, by the way, this was nasty. So this is a play that should have worked, but it didn't, and instead, Cole Kmet takes a massive hit. So take a look at this. This is actually a nice little design. Again, the Bears are practically a basketball team with how often they throw picks around, but you're going to see Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet come across the field and pick for each other. And oh my word, does Kmet almost get wide open as they cut in and Mooney's about to come through and these defenders are going to hit each other. But oh my gosh, Cole Kmet takes a nasty knee-on-knee hit. I am amazed that Cole Kmet walked this off, because look at that. Oh, I watch way too much hockey to not just wince at the sight of that. And Andy Dalton makes a nice little play out of it, but like, man, I don't want to dwell on it too much. Thank goodness it's not an injury, but like, goodness gracious, the Bears got everything that they wanted, but frankly, they almost picked too hard because they get the defenders colliding. They literally get the big, nasty collision that you dream about from an offensive scheming perspective, but oh man, this hurts. Like, that takes him out. Had he not hit the guy, he comes straight through right there. Or yeah, he comes straight through and he's wide open and probably catches the ball here with this man carrying his man up the field, and then he turns, and who knows? Everybody likes to say it's a touchdown. Chances are that once Cole Kmet, who's just not the fastest man in the world, turns upfield, this defender works back around, makes a tackle, and it's like a 30-yard gain. But I am not about to go out there and pretend like I would turn away a 30-yard gain. But yeah, this was one of those that I had to highlight before we move on to like full-time Justin Fields action, because Andy Dalton makes a neat little play off of it. So once Cole Kmet goes down, which is a disaster, by the way, that's your primary receiver, and he's now on the ground. But so then Andy Dalton just sees it and says, oh, frick, I'll go, and just tucks the ball and bails. So if I was going to tell you what I think about Kmet, I would tell you that Kmet, to me, looks like the kind of player that can do a little bit of everything, but not a lot of anything. Jack of all trades kind of person. I wouldn't be concerned about him. I wouldn't even be disappointed. I would just tell you to have low expectations. I don't think that Cole Kmet is going to be Travis Kelce anytime soon. I think there are a lot of people on Twitter that want to bang a Cole Kmet drum that really doesn't exist. But on the other hand, if I looked at Kmet and said, eventually, if the Bears get Allen Robinson running hot and Darnell Mooney moving well and Marquise Goodwin down the field, Kmet can be that guy where, okay, let's take him. So Darnell Mooney runs a deep post across the field, and this guy runs way over there, and Cole Kmet, or let's see, another tight end does something like that. I don't know, I'm just making something up, guys. And then Cole Kmet just sort of drifts and finds a spot in the middle of the field. Just sits down. Just catch it. Elon, I would actually tell you, like, ceiling, it would be closer to Jason Witten. The kind of guy who just sort of gets in space and catches the ball. But so, somebody who's just effective, knows where to be. like reads the defense, so on and so forth. But yeah, he needs to get better at blocking, I would tell you. But so let's get into the field stuff. Like that's the thing, Derek. Like I don't want to come after Kmet like he's somehow playing terribly. I would tell you he's a 250-pound kid that is hard. Like it's a tough position. Hopefully we see him develop a little bit. He had to deal with COVID last season and like the COVID off season and whatnot. This is a play where Dalton hurts himself. Then Fields comes in. They run 3 runs. They're not very good. But so this was one where I was a little bummed. So the Bears get 6 yards there. Then this is this the sneak? I was a little bummed, by the way, that here on 3rd and 1, they weren't able to get more out of 2 straight runs. I don't hate the sneak call. I'll never hate the sneak call, even on 4th and 1.5, because I think sneaks can get more than that. I was just bummed that the Bears couldn't get anything. Like in this specific case, watching this play, the Bears run like an outside zone sort of deal, and they just get congested up at the line of scrimmage and can't get anything. Montgomery can't really develop ahead of steam, can't run anybody over at the point of attack. This hurt. But so, yeah, this was one of those that I would look at, and I don't know if the Bears necessarily need to do something else, because obviously everybody looks and they say, bad play call. But yeah, that's one of those where Jordan, I'm with you, and Elon, I think that either spot might have had it. Like, I personally, it looks to me when you watch, this is the Montgomery one, I think. I may have gone a little bit too far back. But so, Adrian, I'm well aware that minimum wage people had to deal with COVID. I bring up the COVID off season because it made developing at a hard to develop position a little harder. That's it, though. But so, I was staring at Montgomery's, so here's his forward motion. Right now, I would say the ball's right there, and the first down line is, just a little beyond it. I'm trying to be as objective as I possibly can in this specific case. I think he, just barely gets there. You can see that the first down line is a little beyond that hash, and that hash is right here. So with Montgomery's ball just seemingly a smidge behind the that line, I would tell you that he's a half yard short, and then they marked it an extra yard backwards, it felt like. So still a bad spot. I don't think he got it. I think the sneak would have gotten it the second time, but you get the idea. Definitely not trying to make too much out of this. It's just a call that did not work for the Bears. Now they're 0-5 on 4th down. Hooray. Yeah, the Mustipher thing's complicated. I would tell you right now that the fact that the Bears came in this season with Mustipher at center still boggles my mind. I've never been a huge Mustipher person. He did not play particularly well last year either. But right now, I would tell you that what we are hoping for is that Mustipher becomes an okay starter, a below average starter. And in my opinion, when you're already hoping that somebody ends up a below average starter, you already know what you think of the guy. But so that's my opinion. Let's see here. All right, let's go all the way. Let's just do the Justin Fields bit. Andy Dalton gets hurt. You watched the game. But so I honestly think, so there's a lot of Peters dialogue right now. Jason Peters has really impressed me. I don't necessarily think, I think people can talk a whole lot about attitude on offensive line, and I think it matters, for sure. But Jason Peters looks like he knows where he should be consistently. It's fun to watch. So these are the kinds of plays that I think will get better and better. In this specific case, you're going to actually see, I think it's Mustipher and Whitehair, mostly Whitehair, blow a block right here. Yeah, Mustipher, or no, that's Daniels. Daniels gets worked. But so let's see. There's only a 30-second skip forward, so you do what you can. But so let's see. Like right there, yeah, or that's Daniels and Mustipher a little bit, but you're going to see Daniels in particular get absolutely mollywopped on this specific play where he gets held up at the point of attack and cruised right through. I thought he had a really good last game, Daniels did, but this game specifically, he was fine. So I'm with you, Brandon. Getting a decent left tackle right off the street for minimum is absolutely crazy. This is the Justin Fields game. by the way. I wanted to start here because we've already talked about the talent aspect, but this drop right here, you're going to see Allen Robinson running a comeback, and he thinks about it. Like, so you've got Jason Peters chasing the man down the sidelines, and Justin Fields thinks about it because he sees Allen Robinson, but he also sees the cornerback ready for it. So he pulls the ball down, and then he runs because he's looking at Damian Williams. He's not going to check inside because he can make a play with his legs. Right now, Justin Fields is going to take a look, find his first read, and then go. Like, I don't even think that necessarily that's a problem. At the end of the day, I actually agree. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something a little controversial. I think Matt Nagy's right that the number one thing that the Bears can do for Justin Fields is make it to where he can play fast. We're going to go through the tape right here as Justin Fields played out Andy Dalton's style of play. You could see him second guessing himself pretty consistently. I think that there's a whole lot of things that Justin Fields could have done or been quicker on the trigger of that he wasn't necessarily. But here on third down, this might have been one of Fields' best plays of the game, if not probably his second best play of the game. I loved this. This is that really nice Omaha out route where what you see here is it's a pick. Because what would it be if it was a Chicago Bears play without a pick, where you're going to see Mooney get out there, and then I think it's Jesse James, hard to tell, but whoever's there on the end, he's just going to set a natural pick for Mooney, clear his guy out, and all Justin Fields has to do is eye it up and make the throw. Credit to the offensive line. They give him a great pocket. The pick works with Jesse James taking the man away, and then he blows it straight through his hands. I mean, this is what we hope becomes vintage. He hits the back of his drop. He's got that nice wide base for a quarterback. Offensive line's doing a good enough job of keeping the pocket clean with Mooney right about to break. We give it just a little longer. Here he's setting to throw. Then he fires as Mooney breaks. So they're right in step with each other as he just gasses this ball to the sidelines, hits Mooney right in the hands. It doesn't get easier, in terms of making that catch. That was a great little play, I thought. It's a nice 13-yard completion. These are exactly the kinds of things that I would tell you that Fields can build off of because that ball is beautiful. There's not a lot to whine about there, and I'm not going to because you're going to hear me be, I don't want to say hard on Fields, but I am not going to be easy on him. This is a perfect play example. So let's take a look at what this is. If you want to complain about offensive design, you're allowed to, because this is a play where three guys stop. So it's curl, curl, curl with one guy running across. But Fields does not help himself because he fades backwards and makes life harder on the tackles. This is exactly the kind of thing that Jason Peters talked about when he said the biggest difference between Andy and Fields is that Andy is going to go to his 9-yard depth and he's just going to sit there. He's just going to stay right there. Whereas Fields could go anywhere in this general area. One thing that I saw Fields do a couple times that you will see right here, by the way, is that Fields tends to catch the ball and then just sort of drift backwards and to the left. So kind of behind him, right? That's not a good thing. What you want is somebody a little bit stronger in the pocket. And in this case, you're actually going to see the lane to step up into the pocket looks pretty good. Right here, there's a pocket right there for Fields to step into. But because he drifts a little bit, he ends up creating pressure for himself that he has to pull the ball down and then eat a sack when he probably could have stayed alive right here. Whether he throws to Goodwin or not, that's a great question. Whether he leaks out, finds the check down, a lot of things he could have done if he had stayed in the pocket. But really all we need to do in this specific case is talk about how that drifting habit got him in trouble. So I really don't think we are, Jordan. This is one of those cases specifically that I would say, I would tell you in this specific case, talking about quarterback drift is a complicated one. Most rookies do this, by the way. This is an extremely normal rookie thing. but he does need to figure out how to not drift quite so much in the pocket, get that ball to the check down, basically be a normal quarterback like in the NFL. It's so once he does that, he gets himself into a jam that, again, like you've seen Derek Carr do it. I'm sorry, I know I'm keep rewinding over and over and over. Some people like that. I don't either. But so in this case, once he sees this edge and this edge coming downhill, personal opinion, he needs to just trigger forward. You see Andy Dalton's done it a ton of times. You've seen too many quarterbacks do it against us. As soon as he steps up into that pocket from there, he can then Marquise Goodwin gets covered by a linebacker. That's not what you want. But so I would want Marquise Goodwin to get open. If you take a look at this, at this play from this start, watching Marquise, so don't stare at Fields this time. Watch Marquise Goodwin. You're gonna see Marquise Goodwin ends up one-on-one against a linebacker, but he's just not quite ready, or he doesn't do anything particularly creative to create that space. The linebacker triggers down, so not what you want. I don't necessarily think, Ryan, that he needed to step right up and take a shot downfield, but even stepping forward and dumping the ball off to the check down is better than a sack. We are kind of splitting hairs, but we're going over to his rookie film. And it's not only is it his rookie film, it's his jammed into a game film. One thing you guys talked about that I think is important is, so people have asked, like, where are the bootlegs? Well, I don't think Matt Nagy and Justin Fields had come up with a package of plays for him to be starting. He's basically running like 8 to 12 plays over and over and over again right now. The ones that they had for him to run in emergency setups, I think, are the ones that they have been running right now. Because if you watch a lot of what he's doing, it's like OSU meets Andy Dalton at this point. Rollouts and whatnot, we saw them do a couple of those against the Rams, and usually this defender would just come down and eat Andy Dalton alive. But the rollouts make a lot more sense with Justin Fields. So I do think we'll see more of them against Cleveland. I don't know that they're going to work, because Cleveland's got a really good defense, but I think you'll at least see more of them. Zach, great to see you. But so this was another throw that you talk about, like, it's a little high. One thing, by the way, that you're going to see, like in this specific case, this is a habit of Fields's. It's not a bad habit. One thing that you will notice is that when the pocket gets really congested, I'm talking somebody on his front foot. I wish I could zoom in. Like in this specific case, have you noticed that, like, that's Jermaine Ifedi's foot is right near Justin Fields, and it kind of affects his front plant leg. In this specific case, when you see somebody right in front of him, the ball can sail high on him a little bit. And in this case, it does. That's something that you've seen at OSU. Like, you can actually see it in his motion afterwards a little bit more, where what you're going to see is, so I need to see if I can freeze frame it properly. Let me focus. So it's right there, as silly as it sounds, where he doesn't come all the way through with his hips. And I know we're looking at it after the fact, but he's basically flicking it with his shoulder. And one of the biggest reasons that he likes to step through the ball is so that he can get that shoulder down. One thing that, like, when it comes to pocket pressure and the way that Fields gets affected, one of the most important things he can have is just a little room in front of him, because when he gets hesitant about that ball in front of him, he tends to leave that shoulder up just a little bit. Great to see you, Freeman. And then that ball can sail in him a little bit. Now, Goodwin makes a really nice catch. Like, really, he does. That's a great grab. The ball is nicely placed in terms of line at this point. It's just a little high, but you'll actually see later in the game, like, Fields then remembers to pull his shoulder around. So he gets quick feedback. He's able to immediately, like, make a better play on the next play. I just wanted you guys to know that if Fields has, like, a miss spot, it's actually high. And I'm with you, Jarrell. I don't think it was a catch either, but Justin Fields caught a break there, and I have no issue with that. But so, continuing forward on all of Justin Fields' plays, there's that drift again. We talked about this a little bit last time. But so, let's see. this is where, again, you're going to see Fields step back, and then he's going to drift backwards into his left. The big reason that it matters here is because the pocket's not quite as clean up in the front, so I can get why he's a little skittish. But if he gets the ball out to his check down, like, let's take a look at the wide angle, and you'll see just how open this was. I give Matt, these are the exact kinds of plays where I look at it and I say, Justin Fields is a rookie figuring it out. That's so important here. It's a rookie mistake. I have these all marked as rookie mistakes. You should not see these forever, because while the play call, in theory, has Goodwin running down the field, Mooney running into space, maybe somebody will get open around here. The other thing to remember is that you've got man downfield, man downfield, man downfield, man downfield, man downfield, man downfield, and look at all that space. Look at all that space. So if Fields just gets the ball out to Damian Williams, and all they need is this line to gain, you never know what'll happen. Like, you don't know if he'll get to 4th and 1, get to 4th and 3, get a first down. I'm not saying it's a perfect example in this case of like an easy first down or something, but these are the little plays where Justin Fields like drifts back in the pocket, creates a little more pressure than he needs, instead of just saying, and nothing's open, snap the ball to the check down and move on. These are just exactly the kinds of plays that these are exactly the kinds of plays that Fields just needs to see a couple times. Once he sees them, he'll go through them, and he'll know exactly where he needs to go with the ball. He's a rookie. It's really new. I hope I'm explaining that well. So because of that drift, he ends up actually putting himself into pressure that he was not in. Had he sat right there, he's still not quite pressured yet, and is able to just jet the ball to Damian Williams to just go whoop or something like that. But so let's see, whoever is running at the 45 is right there. Or there. Yeah, Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's not a bad zip option, but chances are he could just like chuck the ball with his shoulder to Damian Williams, who's too wide open, and he figured it out. You can see he figured out where he's supposed to go with the ball, but he just moved himself into position where you're going to see right here that Jason Peters has him under control, but once Fields moves to the side, then all of a sudden Peters is in bad position, and it's not necessarily his fault. But so, exactly. At this point, I look at, let's see, I'm just reading through the chat, but yeah, rookie mistakes, not bad plays, just rookie mistakes, things to work on. Let's see. Yeah, I have this written down as great experience for him. Like, this is exactly the kind of thing that I look at and I say to myself that as Fields goes through his career, he's going to have these moments of figuring out where to move, when to move, how to move, when to just hit the check down, when to keep hunting. Personally, if you go back to this, just to give an example, like I really don't want to belabor specific plays, but in this kind of thing, I think that if Fields wants to make a big play downfield, he could try. I'm talking try, like we're really stretching the truth here. Basically, if you watch Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson, you'll see that most of their play extensions don't really happen in the pocket. And if they do, they get like crazy deep or something like that. But they mostly stretch things out to the sidelines. And Fields has the ability to do that. But even they will take a check down when it's wide open. So when Williams gets out of there, they just got to ditch the ball on these kinds of third downs. But you get the idea. We're kind of nitpicking. We know we are. But we're talking about a rookie quarterback. We all care. You get the idea. Let's see. Continuing on. Oh, man. So now we get to some of the stuff where it's just like, holy moly, this kid's so talented. Because, so the Bears pick up, let's see if I can stop it at the right time. They pick up like 5 yards on this outside run, or outside zone run right here. Monty runs out of bounds. Hooray, great, so on and so forth. And then Fields does this. So Fields keeps the ball, as we've seen. Like, he pulls it dead to rights, right? I mean, goodness gracious, he should be absolutely dumpstered. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have the edge. This guy's coming down on him. If he tries to cut it up, like, right now you're just trying to lose 1 yard, right? or maybe get back to the line of scrimmage. Nope. Fields instead puts the spin move on him, puts him in the washing machine, and darts it straight down. Like, holy moly. This is so, so nice. Like, Fields' physical talents, we've shown some of the arm strength, but his mobility and his just playmaking, for any way to just talk about it, like, this was so awesome. And yeah, exactly. Fields pulls the retired spin move right back out, but it totally works. I mean, Fields has an ability to make a play. And I think that play's so cool, not because 2nd and 5 was the biggest down at football, but because it's a nice reminder that even in Fields' rookie roller coaster, he's making some of these plays where, exactly like you said, Frienderman, like, just, sheesh, holy moly, that is nice. And it's all about time. So some people are talking about how this is the move that got him hurt. Like, Waleed, if I was going to nitpick, I would say that the trouble with these kinds of plays is that this is what you would consider perfect zone read defense. Like, this defender is both in and out, as you can see, and he's just watching to make it work. And so if Fields had given Monty the ball, maybe he would have gotten something, but chances are this linebacker would have stuffed him with it. So when Fields then makes that, or like when he pulls it, he's trying to kind of make something happen. But instead, he doesn't sell it phenomenally. All this stuff it's up and down. To say the least. But so this is the perfect time to use the spin move. It's when you are going this way and you want to go that way against a defender who doesn't have a head of steam. So he makes the move, he gets upfield. It's perfect. I mean, that's great. I could fawn over that. I could fawn over that for 20 minutes. Like, that's so cool. But yeah, it's great zone defense. A lot of people talked about a lot of zone defense back in the big Cam Jordan, Mitch Trubisky fiasco, but that's where we're at with those kinds of things. But so, let's see. Yeah, then Fields hands the ball off. Don't break a tackle on Montgomery. I want to talk about this one because it's just kind of funny. You're going to see Jermaine Ifedi specifically gaff his block as he gets beat right there, but Montgomery just does not care. He is on a tear this season. Holy moly, he is just moving, and so he gets that. Let's see. Yo, Brent Robinson, you're the bomb. Thank you so much. Let's see. Where am I at this? Oh gosh. Yeah, so here we go. This is one of everybody's favorite plays to talk about. So the Bears go play action. They go, this is an Andy Dalton shot play. They've literally already run it. Oh, that might have been Peters. You're right, Akusai. But so they get the throw right here that they want with Darnell Mooney kicking straight through, and getting wide open. And Fields, did he drop it? Did he miss the throw? Ooh, hard to tell, right? So tight. But this is a tough throw. Goodness gracious. These are the kinds of throws that I look at and I think to myself, look, the Bears won the football game. They got away with a win. So we can look at this kind of play. Fields finds the read, he finds the open space, and he puts that ball so close, right? And I think personally you can give a little bit of this blame to Fields. I am not trying to come after Fields. I love Justin Fields, and I personally would tell you that I think he could put that ball in Mooney's arms if he wanted to. On the other hand, I think Mooney could catch this. It's a little both, right? Mooney could have caught it, and we would have called it an amazing catch. Fields could have put the ball right in his arms, and we would have said, dang, that's a great throw. Instead, it's just a little bit of both, if the ball's just a foot the other way, so on and so forth. But here's the thing, guys. This is where, if you want to criticize anything, I wouldn't say Matt Nagy's playing Fields at the wrong time. He didn't have a choice. But this is where Fields probably could have used a few more reps with the number one wide receivers, because in this specific setup, I just wonder how much he knows. Thanks, Elon. At this point, Allison's. I kept yelling till 12:30 last night, so I'm trying to be a little bit more respectful about the fact that my wife's sleeping in the other room. But I love you guys, so we're gonna keep going, and we're not doing an ASMR Bears, no matter how much that sounds goofy. But so, anyways, back to it. Waleed, you know, it's funny. You talk about whether he took an extra hitch, like maybe, but at the same time, look at that pocket. He can do whatever he wants as long as the throw's good. Like, I personally look at this and I'm like, I don't really care. I'll leave that to the quarterback gurus to talk about whether or not that's like a bad thing. But in this specific case, I would tell you that chances are more reps with the number one wide receivers probably does most of the work, right? If Fields gets more practice throwing to Mooney, I think he knows where to lead him. And you saw a lot of that, just lack of chemistry. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing, Harrison. It's so complicated. You know what I mean? Oh, and so somebody talked earlier about, Bryson, I know Fields loved throwing crossers in college. Every receiver's just a little bit different. So one thing that people are talking about is this Mooney stutter. I think there's something to that. The idea that maybe Mooney wasn't at absolute full speed and Fields threw it for full speed, but you get the idea. Like, it's one of those where it's complex. Either way, I just want to say, like, let's be excited that the Bears were able to get somebody open. Fields threw the ball. The ball is like right there. Guys, how many times have we seen this ball go there? You know? Or the ball goes there, something like that, or it goes out of bounds. Like, we're going through Fields' plays, then maybe I'll answer a couple questions. I'd say like 30, 45 minutes, something like that. But so we've seen this ball get so far away from the wide receivers that I'll take the fact that it is that close. I think Fields can get even better. He's so unbelievably accurate, you know? Like, these are the kinds of plays that I look at and I'm like, that is close. That ball is so close to where it needs to be. And at the end of the day, I'm just excited that even our rookie, inconsistent quarterback is the kind of guy who's going to put the ball in a catchable position, even when it's a bad throw. Like JT O'Sullivan, not to harp on a guy over and over, but he specifically picked on tons of these things, calling them bad on Fields' part. I would say that my standard is so low for Bears quarterbacks, I would almost call this a good play. Like, it's still in the realm of catchable, and we're calling things bad. Not in Chicago. Thank you so much, Eric. You're the bomb. But so you get the idea. Like, it's the kind of thing where the pocket was great, the ball was there, and I would tell you I want Mooney to catch it instead of Fields needing to make a better throw. Fields is a rookie, help your guy out. But even so, I think more reps with the ones would have helped it and will help it going forward. Like, that's kind of where it is. But so, yeah, Waleed, our standards are very low. So this is one that I thought was really interesting. We have to talk about this play because it's a false start. But also, Fields recognizes a blitz. This is a similar blitz to the one that absolutely kills him, like earlier. He, so what is it? In the, hey, no fighting in the chat, by the way. We're all friends here. But so, in the preseason, a similar blitz to this absolutely destroyed him. In fact, the blitzer was actually on the end here, so it was easier to see. But so, Fields recognizes that Von Bell right here is in an unusual position, because look, off coverage, what's he doing here? And so, Fields points it out to the center, gets up there, and you can clearly see him pointing. He's like, hey, watch that guy over there. So then he goes to clap the ball. He's already clapping his hands. Ball doesn't come out. That's weird to me. That's weird to me. Like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, but you can see Fields and Mustipher struggle to get along, and if Fady there reacts to Fields' clap, so you get the impression that Fields was calling for the ball and Mustipher didn't deliver it. But I don't know. I have no idea. But it's really cool to see Fields recognizing something that he missed and got his helmet popped off for earlier, because that was some really solid improvement. Thank you so much, Sam. You're the man. You guys have been incredible. But so, do you bacon? I shouldn't be laughing at that. I shouldn't be laughing at how funny that is, but that is hilarious. Sam Musty forgot to snap it. That's great. But so, yeah, let's take a look here. Notes. So this is one of those plays that I think gets weird because What you ask, like, what would Russell Wilson do, right? Okay, so let's write that out, because I think that there's a nice joke to be made here. Like, Fields is probably thinking like W W R W D. That's his Live Strong bracelet right there. WWRWD. What would Russell Wilson do? And in this specific play, there's a decent, if not, I don't know, Brandon, if you're still here, you tell me. There's a decent chance that Russell Wilson takes the shot to Allen Robinson. Cover 2 safety over here might range over for it. Cover 4 guy sitting over here covering Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, because Mooney's kind of filling the space as Allen Robinson gets out there. But I don't know. Either way, it's a 2nd and 15 if memory serves. And Fields takes the run and he goes and he gets like 9 yards, which I'm not upset about. Like that's what I think is so cool about this specific player, is that in this case, I can't tell if it's his first read, Brandon, because he stares at it. He's still looking at it as he gets through, but he gets the heck out once he sees Damian Williams make a big block, takes the free 8 yards. I'm trying to take a guess here. By the way, spotlight on Damian Williams. Shared this on Twitter. This is a gnarly blitz pickup. Von Bell comes all the way and bang, just completely dislodges it. But so I can't tell. Like, this is one of those throws where I look at this, I don't want to call it a missed opportunity. I more want to just point out that the reason that down and distance, by the way, Brandon, is 2nd and 15 if memory serves. Sticks are over there. Ball's right here. But so at this point, I would tell you that in this case, a older, more confident quarterback probably throws Allen Robinson open. Instead, he just ditches and he picks up good yardage. This is the game that he needs to play. Like, if I was going to tell you like what I think he should do, it's that Justin Fields should take this. It's touchdown to check down, right? So silly to talk about it, but it is. Like, he sits back there, he sees, okay, well, maybe Allen Robinson's going to get open here in a little bit, but my running back just dumpstered Von Bell, and I need to get the heck out of Dodge. So he does. He gets right on out of there. It's a nice, safe play, and he moves it to like a third, or he moves it to a 3rd and 6. I hate the term third and manageable. I think third down is hard no matter what happens. But it's it's a play that I'm never going to disagree with, because if you've ever heard me on this channel say it, you take the free money. You take the free money. But so I don't think, Ryan, that Justin Fields is a one-read quarterback, but I agree with you, Brandon. I think if he floats that ball up, there's a very good chance that this cornerback ranges back. He could have gotten in trouble. Trevor Lawrence makes the throw. Zach Wilson probably makes the throw. But either way, that's one of those where, as you analyze this rookie quarterback, it'll be really, really interesting to watch what happens and watch how this all goes from here, because it's going to be, it really is going to be like a gorgeous transition to watch Justin Fields going from here, because exactly like you're saying, Waleed and Frenderman, like 3rd and less than absolutely dire is great. And so then the Bears drop back. They not good. I forgot about this one. Yeah, so I see some conversation about specifically Trubisky being a one-read quarterback, Justin Fields being more than a one-read quarterback. Right now, I would tell you that I think Justin Fields is... Okay, so there's a book. If you guys know me at all, I'll cite my books when I like them. But so there's a book called What is Open. It's really cool. Not only does it do a whole lot of talking about like how offensive systems work, but one thing it talks about is trying to turn knowledge from explicit into implicit. The reason that I talk about this, explicit into implicit, is you're trying to take your thinking knowledge, I know I need to go here with the ball, and turn it into feeling knowledge, right? Into, that's where I'm going. That's it. It's not, okay, well, against cover 3, I need to put the ball there. I don't know, I'm making something up. Instead of that, you want to have your quarterback saying, that's where I'm going. Like one of those things where Russell Wilson or whoever drops back and they just know. And that's the process Justin Fields is going through. And it's why, in my opinion, he looks a little slow. It's not that his processor is slow. It's that I think he's learning coverages, complex coverages. These coverages are hard, guys. Like, he's figuring out what open looks and feels like, how to operate against these things. And he can't become, thank you, Tumultuous Titan, great to see you. He can't become a 7-year veteran without playing for 7 years. So as a rookie, he's going to have his moments where he doesn't look exactly, John, it's exactly like pattern recognition. Andy Dalton has been around this league for a decade. At past a certain point, he knows how to make that touchdown throw to Allen Robinson off of a post in the red zone. But right now, it's taking him a little bit longer than it's taking others to go through reads because he's got to think about it. It's the difference between thinking. I don't know. Try to think about it as like, imagine yourself playing hockey or a sport you've never played before. You got to think about all the movements. Where am I pulling my stick? How am I moving my feet? How do I make sure I don't fall on my face because I'm on skates right now? Instead of skating coming naturally, you can handle the puck without looking at it, and now you're really playing hockey. It's all that kind of stuff. You get the idea. But so in this specific play, Fields gets caught with what I think isn't a great play call. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell. If this is a slant, JT talks about this. I think it might be a slot fade. So they have like a slot dig right here, and they're trying to open Allen Robinson up off of a slot fade, which looks like that. But in this specific case, what you're going to have is, I think it's James Daniels gets whipped, Jason Peters gets beat a little bit, and at this point, they're expecting the line to hold for what I think is supposed to be a back shoulder throw, but they never get the chance. So by the time Fields realizes what's up, he gets hit from behind, he gets smoked. In this specific case, or like this specific play, when we talk about it, I don't know if it's like late recognition or what he should have done. I really can't tell. Obviously, the answer isn't for fumble. Like everybody talked about him carrying the ball with one hand. He's never gonna fix that. Like I don't think so. But so like he's gonna carry the ball with one hand when he thinks he can run with it. Maybe the answer is just an ever so slight faster trigger on it. Like the only thing that I think maybe Fields could have done, and what I think you would expect from him in the future, is just that he will trigger on it now, that he bails right there. Because he waits just a little bit. He really does. Like, just a little bit. But if he gets out now, he can extend the play, and he can find something with Allen Robinson in one-on-one space. But, like, at this point, so iGhost, in the world of, like, what do I mean by he has to think about his reads? I mean that right now, he is looking at what is probably his, like, 3rd month of reading a wide receiver in a one-on-one, even less, like 6th week maybe of really watching Allen Robinson against a defensive back. So he's staring at this guy thinking, okay, is that open or not? Like, do I think I can make that throw? Do I not make that throw? Oh shoot, there's somebody in my face. I gotta get out of here. And so it's a whole lot of everything like becoming or coming through his head at this point. And he fights like hell for it, by the way. Like, one thing to talk about, look, we're talking about a very, very intangible thing as that ball comes out, and Justin Fields is the only reason, as he just leaps for this, that this isn't a scoop and score, because he literally creates another fumble. Like, it's one of those where this was really cool, because he jumps out, pulls the ball right back out, and gets it himself. This should have been a turnover. Like, it should have been a turnover. It wasn't. It also should have been roll. We'll see. The big reason I do these streams is mostly because they're easier instead of me pulling a whole bunch of all-nighters. But hey, if you guys somehow find a way to support me full-time, absolutely. You get both, probably. But so you get the idea. I don't want to, like, push everything out there, but I'm just trying to make sure that I ultimately can sleep and hold down my other job at the same time. That's enough about that. But so, anyways, chances are the only way to get out of this is to just be a little faster in what he's going through. I don't love the play call. A slot fade in this setting kind of opened up the I'll talk about that another time, Jordan. But it kind of opened up the the outside shoulder, but even that would have been a very, very, very tough throw. But exactly like you're saying, Grant, he really wants it. Like, when the complicated thing about Justin Fields is that Justin Fields is a pocket passer. He's not a runner. He wants to make that throw. He just probably should have gotten out of there a little sooner. I don't know if it's like a trigger thing or a feel thing, but it's one of those things that'll just need to be developed over time. Experience, rookie mistake, experience, rookie mistake, experience, rookie mistake. We all fall. Let's see. So I think, so that concludes that drive, meaning that now we go to, so then we get the Eddie Jackson pick, which is here. Or it's not a pick, it's a fumble. But so, knocks the ball loose, more Fields. Fields comes off the field, Fields comes back on the field. This was where the Bengals decided that Justin Fields needed a freaking ton of reps, and so they were just going to give it to him as best they could. So, the Bears march a little bit. Let's see here. I'll let y'all watch while oh man. So this is where they run 2 straight run plays. They don't get a ton. And you guessed it. I believe they... Is this the false... Yep. Okay, so this is where you can start to see Justin Fields getting a little frustrated because you're going to see him rock back just a little bit. He clearly calls for the snap there because he rocks. And then the whole defense jumps. Whole defense. Something's up there. I hope they get it fixed, but you can clearly tell that Fields pulls him in. Fields is ready to take the snap, and he rocks back. Maybe he just put a little too much into the hard count because he's not near as frustrated about this one as he gets later, but he definitely did not like that. So now it's 3rd and 10. And I can't remember how they get out of this jam. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This is Allen Robinson's best play of the game. Good question, friend. I really have no idea. Frienderman, he asks, whether it's about the problem with working with Mustafa or not. I have no idea. But that's definitely one of those that you'd want to see him. You need to see them get fixed overall because you can't be taking 3 false starts in 2.5 quarters. But Allen Robinson does a great job breaking a tackle here. This is a play that he never should have made. Honest opinion, I think the Bears at this point just taking a look right here at what the Bears are doing, it looks to me like they just wanted to see if they could get to there and go for it. That's my honest opinion. That this was supposed to get caught, he pushes to there, goes out of bounds, they go for it because why not? Or they kick a field goal at the 34, which also could have happened. But instead, Robinson makes a play, Bears are off and running. Great stuff. That's one of those where I would look at and I would say, oh, by the way, one other thing about this that goes unnoticed. Fields does this with pressure in his face. Remember how we talked about how with pressure in his face, Fields can let the ball sail ever just a little bit? Here, Fields throws with that man in his face, and he gets the ball right to A-Rob just where he wants it to. This is a great football. It's not Hall of Fame. We don't need to go too crazy about talking about 5-yard hitches, but this is it's a throw in the NFL with pressure in his face, and he delivers the ball accurately enough for Allen Robinson to immediately go get a first down out of a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12 situation. Can't ask for too much more from that specific spot. So then I think the Bears run the play action thing again, and they get it this time. Hooray, right? If Fields, now this is one of those that I can't figure this play out, because I've watched this a bunch of times, and I can't tell if Mooney just falls over or not. Does Mooney need to dive at this ball? Is it that low? Can he not pull it down and catch it? Look, I don't have any problem with him catching the ball. It's an explosive play. It's one that the Bears haven't really gotten with Dalton yet this season, but it looks to me like if Mooney catches that, he's got a chance to turn up field for more yards. Instead, he takes the dive, he falls over. I don't know. I have no idea, but it's a great throw. I mean, it's one of those where JT would harp on it. You can go watch his video. Please watch his video instead of mine. But I like Fields drifts a little bit. This is one of those where the drifting thing gets really weird, by the way. So he drifts again, and then he throws. But was the drift good or bad? You tell me. Because the complicated part here is that technically it moves him into the center of the pocket with the Bears run blocking. I love these run block I love these run block play actions, by the way. Like when you've got basically the offensive line is run blocking, they're able to establish their hands and then pass protect from there. But as it happens, thanks so much for stopping by at all, Brandon. Great to see you. As this play goes on, Fields' drift takes him into the center of the pocket. I think this is coincidental. Like, I think at this point, I look at it thinking to myself that Fields drifted again, but he caught a break this time. But even so, it's a great throw. It's not one to complain about. I think his pocket sense could use a little bit of practice as a rookie, because if he stays right there, there's just no reason to move. He doesn't have to drift like he does. He's just thinking about throwing left, so he drifts. But he'll get there. Like, that's all stuff that you file under. It's not even like a rookie mistake. It's just like a rookie tendency. Go watch any of Drew Lock's film, which is not going to encourage you. But if you do, you'll see, like, tons of that. I can't remember who got absolutely lit up, by the way. But so, let's see. I think it's Whitehair. Yeah, he gets just whipped right there, and Montgomery suffers for it. Oh, well. Yeah, it's Drew Lock yeah, you get the idea. There's a ton of drift in Trubisky's film. Whoever said that is dead on. So this is another one of those where it's interesting watching, by the way, the difference between Fields and your standard quarterback. Because if you take this play, the pass protection is beautiful, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. Fields is looking on this play. Let's go back. I'll actually just draw it out so we can talk about this. So this is really intriguing play, in my opinion, because what the Bears are going to do is they're going to have Graham run there with Kmet running like a curl in there or back there, and Mooney flaring out in the flat. Those are the three. 1, 2, 3. And so Fields is going to be watching that left side, right? And once he sees it, what the Bengals are gonna do, they drop into what looks like a cover 4. So Graham goes to clear it out, and it's all up to Kmet. Thank you so much, Brian. You're the man. But so when Kmet then gets there, he turns. Look, I don't know if he turns the wrong way, but Kmet turning this way might be open. Once Fields sees Kmet turn in towards the DP, plays over. Like, Graham's covered, Kmet's covered. No need to throw it there. There's too much space. What's interesting is I think Dalton would make a play there. Like, I think he would find Allen Robinson. But instead, Fields almost scores a touchdown. And Dem, we can talk about that later. That's weird. So this was a rare moment of Fields not keeping his feet, in my opinion. Like, Fields looks to extend the play. He tries to find something. It's not there, so he just beats the defensive end. And, oh, man, if he doesn't just barely... I'm shocked he wasn't able to turn this upfield, because this looks like a very friendly angle. But he kind of just gets too close to the sidelines at this point and then steps out of bounds. If he hadn't, there's a non-zero chance he lowers his shoulder and just bowls into the end zone. Like, this is one of those that's so tight. It's so tight. Like, it's wild to see this, but it's just cool to see the difference between Justin Fields and a guy like Dalton, because where Dalton would be looking to live to fight another down with one of these two targets, maybe throwing Allen Robinson in space if they're like mind-wired, or throwing to Montgomery and taking a loss of 0, Fields is able to turn a play out of it that should have scored. Now, again, that's one of those where I think Fields, if he had to do it over again, would be like, yeah, I'm going to get in. Like, I should have had that. And that's one of those that in this kind of game, a game that they won, not upset about it, you know? But so It's interesting to see the difference because Fields really can turn just about anything into a play. This is one of those plays that should be dead to rights in between Trubisky, Foles, and Dalton. It's always been dead to rights. Man chasing him. This should be over. And Fields is able to just turn upfield and just, make something out of it. I really think he would be surprised that he didn't get the edge that he thought he did. Like, he seems, or when you watch him right here, you can even see in his body language that he's upset that he left that on the field. It's cool. I don't know. I think it's really, really cool. Watching him is a whole lot of fun. Joe Manazu, I think Trubisky gets sacked. Like, I don't think Trubisky gets the edge. Having watched Trubisky for as long as I have, I think that 94 chases Trubisky out of the, out the sidelines right there, or Trubisky throws the ball away. But that's my take. Speakeasy, I paid for European Game Pass. But yeah, you get the idea. But so, let's see. So then they get into this squabble right here. Like, this is where things get really weird, because watch the body language between these two. I don't want to get all conspiracy, tinfoil hat, but check that out. Like, these two get into a spat right there about what they're hearing and what they're talking about. Like, there's clearly some stuff that they've had to work through over this last week as they become it, because clap, 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 clap. This was not good. Like, this was the third false start, and then the fourth, or I don't think there is a fourth, but so, yeah, weird one. And then they get to 3rd and 10, and I think this flips the quarter. I think so. Speakeasy, if you want me to, I can, but we'll get there. Yeah, this looks to me like not a happy group, and this is a chemistry trouble. Like, I can't, especially when it's Lions week. But so this, to me, this one's really funny, because I actually don't think Fields puts this where he doesn't want to. Like, the funniest part about this play, so Fields, here's a blitz, Fields needs to get the ball out, he throws it to his number one receiver. I've got no problems with this. Like, check this out, right? So he's got Allen Robinson right here off of like a soft fade and so on and so forth. But what's interesting to me is that Fields puts the ball up in the air. I think because I've watched Allen Robinson for like 3 years, Robinson likes the ball closer to like here, and so on and so forth. Like, at this point, Bryson, it's not a bad throw. I think that Robinson likes making these back shoulder, and I know Fields can throw that. But instead, Fields puts the ball high in the air for a contested catch, and it's interesting. That's the thing, Wally. I don't think it's a bad throw. I think it's just, again, this is where I would say that chemistry-wise, it's not there. That it looks to me like Fields and Robinson don't quite know each other, to where Robinson likes, I've seen this so many times from Robinson, that what he tends to like, and second to the right from Kmet, I'll have to take another look at it. By that, do you mean Graham? This is Mooney. But so what I've seen is Robinson really likes to set his shoulders right here, because you'll see him. He's got his shoulders square at this point, facing out that way, so that he can flip around and have all that territory. Like, he's deliberately pushing up the field right here so that he can then spin around and, like, catch the ball right there. You get the idea. Like, that's how I've seen him do this. This isn't one of those plays where I think he wants a straight up zip ball, but I don't think that I also don't think that this is a bad throw per se. Like, if I look at this and I watch this throw, it's a throw that I've seen Allen Robinson make, but it's just not an easy catch. It's still a both, right? Like, I wouldn't call this a drop personally. His drop comes later, and we all know it. But this is one where I think that becomes a touchdown off of a ball thrown right here in the future. It won't even take all that long. I think that A-Rob could have caught it, sure, but it's a tough one. And it's one of those that I think is just a continued learning experience over time. Saul, I think it's a little of both. Like, you got to remember that that in this, or like Justin Fields at this point is getting injected into the starting lineup with next to no real experience throwing like to these guys. That's going to sound so silly, but remember, most of Justin Fields' experience throwing to Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, and Damiere Byrd, just to pick some right now, is in one-on-one settings where everybody is like the linemen are over on this field, Justin's over here, the wide receivers lined up, and he runs an 8 and Fields throws it to him. Like, it's one of those where they haven't gotten these game reps with guys right on top of each other, right? Where you've got Robinson going up against a defensive back in the red zone in this situation. That's what these reps with the ones are for. And so it'll be really interesting to see exactly. Like, so I see it as not something that's bad, not something that's negative. I see it as something that's just not practiced. They don't know each other's preferences like you probably want them to, but that's what practice is for. That's what the next year should be about. But defensive back makes a nice play. Again, if it was Kendall Vildor, I'd be saying the same thing. That I think that ultimately somebody, like, they get involved, they make it a tougher catch, but it's really not a bad ball, all things told. And Bryce and I really don't know which catch. You mean this catch or the other one? I'm overreacting about the other catch because I feel like Fields should have gotten his first career touchdown. But yeah, at this point, like, I can't tell. Like, I am Skokes. I would tell you with a straight face that I think Justin Fields is being treated well. I don't think being rushed into the game makes you better. Like, people have been joking about Zach Wilson in the chat this entire evening. I don't think just jamming you into the football game makes you better or readier or this or that. I think the 17-game season, as long as you play 10 to 12 games, you're square. Even so, I do think that Nagy got caught with his pants down. Like, honestly, I think personally that Nagy got caught where his guys needed reps together and they didn't have reps together. The Mooney drop and that A-Rob drop right there, and not really the one later. Like, we know that one, and that one's not really anybody's fault, you know? Or I guess it's Allen Robinson's fault. But personally, I would say that, getting back to my train of thought, personally, that's where a little bit of practice helps each other, and so on and so forth. Like, Nagy took a gamble that Dalton wouldn't get hurt, but he did. And Fields got thrown in, not literally cold, but Fields got thrown in with Dalton's game plan and Dalton's receivers, not really knowing how those receivers like to catch the ball, and that mattered because a lot of these were touch throws and throws that were all about, like, where or knowing where the guy likes it, and so on and so forth. Yeah, you get the idea. But so let's get to a couple more before we close up. So Roquan picks the ball off, and boom, yeah, Roquan, yeah, Roquan, yeah, Roquan. Just want to celebrate that a little more. And then Jalen picks it off. Yeah, Jalen, heck yeah, Jalen. But so, then Fields gets the ball back. Hooray. Oh, come on, Skip. I love the commitment to the bit, though. But so, somebody asked if Fields is struggling and Dalton is healthy, do I stick with Fields or do I put Dalton in? Depends. It depends on how bad it is. Like, if you ask me, if Fields looks terrible, 100 yards a game, 3 turnovers, yeah, maybe you go back to Dalton. Maybe you do. Like, if it's really that bad. Personal opinion, it won't get that bad. Like, it'll get 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 180 to 220 yards, and you stick with him. You say, we're doing our best. Like, he's impressed us. He's done more than we anticipated. God forbid he's actually good. And then there's no problem keeping Dalton out. But in me, I think that Nagy is setting himself up right now to, like, put Dalton back in if he needs to. He's keeping the bank open, if that makes sense. But it's all posturing. Matt Nagy's a massive liar. Matt Nagy is a massive liar. So this is sweet. I know, or for some reason, JT O'Sullivan thinks that this throw wasn't great, and I completely disagree. I thought this throw was beautiful. This throw was a bomb, in my opinion, because the Bears, or like Fields at this point, takes a trafficked pocket and puts the ball just inside of where his defender needs it, so that when Allen Robinson gets down the field, he's got to turn the corner on the defensive back. To me, this doesn't just not allow the defender into the play, it actually pulls him out. I think this is a beautiful play. The trouble is, Allen drops it. Like, you've got to be kidding me. This is one of those that I think is just ridiculous. And I agree with you, do you, Bacon? Like, I think Bears fans put way too much into pressers. Like, you're better off if you don't listen to them, honestly. Like, you're better off if you don't listen at all, because that's trouble. And Joe Moreau, there's no way Dalton isn't hurt. Way too many people have thought it's an ACL at this point. But so anyways, so ball comes out there, Robinson gets position. Like, maybe you could argue that you like the ball better, you put it there, but I really love this placement. I've seen so many of these, like, to the point where I've seen Fields throw this ball a billion times, to where you can see he likes to try to taper defenders off. This is exactly where he always tends to throw these things from OSU. Like, if it's not a clean break, he will. Let me go back and show you guys what I'm talking about, because this is important to me. It's Fields at OSU had the specific habit of, whenever he threw the ball and the two guys were right next to each other, he did not tend to put the ball down the line. He tended to leave it either a little bit inside or a little bit further outside, which obviously doesn't work when this is the sidelines. But when the guys are in here, he'd throw the ball a little bit further outside or a little bit further inside, to try to let his guy go get the ball and force the defender into a position where he wasn't going to find it. So I actually tend to believe that Fields intended to put this ball right where he puts it, which is, again, right in the breadbasket. Like, hard for me to look at the wide receiver. I've already seen it in the chat. I'm going to enter this discussion now. Hard for me to see Allen Robinson asking for $22 million when this ball hits him in the hands and ends up incomplete. Like, you got a rookie who hasn't crossed the 100-yard mark at this point in the game. You've had a couple of other drops and so on and so forth. This is one that, if you're the guy on the offense, you got to have it, in my opinion. Like, I personally think if you throw it right at the NFL logo, I'm not 100% sure Robinson gets there. You got to remember that Robinson's just not the fastest guy in the world. And so when he throws this stutter step on, I don't know how much faster he's going to really go, and so on and so forth. Like, this is one of those where you want to let him get that body position, and he does. He gets that body position, pulls himself right in front, and is able to get into position for the ball. So hard for me to say that he put it in the wrong spot. Like, I really love where he put it. I get disagreement and so on and so forth at where you might want that ball. I am a huge fan of it. I can't really tell if Robinson slows down. That's the thing. Robinson looks to me like he's running pretty much full speed at that point. Like, again, so the ball comes in there. Maybe you could put it out there, but I think it's kind of all the same. It's the difference between turning on the gas and catching the ball without anybody on you, or curling it and catching the ball without anybody on you. To me, both of them are easy. Like, the ball's right there with him getting both hands on it and his forearms. So it's a body catch, which catching with your body's not good. It's more to say that those, I think, can be easier than spying the ball over the shoulder per se. Because you got to remember, this thing where you got to go way over there, that's not easy. But yeah, it's one of those where it should be a completion. I think we all agree. Like, maybe he is playing against the sun, but I think he's got to catch it. I mean, he really has to catch it. But so this is one of those where the line does a good job. The line actually did a surprisingly good job overall. But so if people had caught this, he would have, the Chicago audience would have just exploded. Like, the fans would have exploded. That would have been wild. But so anyways, continuing on from there, Fields makes a nice little throw to Kmet that gets called back. But what can you do? Bryson, that could be true. Robinson not being used to it is a joke. But Fields does a nice job there, here at finding Cole Kmet over the middle, staying patient. Look at this. We talked about how Fields had trouble with drifting. Take a look at this. So here's the pocket. And watch this. Fields does a great job on this play of staying tough. There he hits his drop. He does not drift at all, does not get into any trouble, and makes a throw with guys draped all over him. This is the kind of stuff you want to see. For me, John, it's top 8. 8. I can't. 8. Finally got it. 8. Nobody record that. But yeah, you get the idea. Joe, it's because my wife's sleeping. I want to care for her. You know, husbands, right? But so anyways, this is one I really do want to sit on this just a smidge, because the big key to me here is that you can tell that Fields he's thinking through it. He's making little improvements. He could get caught drifting same way he has been, but he keeps going, or he sits right where he should be, delivers the ball. I don't really care that the play gets called back. He's got men all over him, and he makes a really solid throw. This is where the nitpicking can go a little bit too far. This is a great play, especially given that it's a rookie, but I'd say it's a great play if it was Dalton. Ball's a nice strike, should pick up the third down, but instead I think they get offensive pass interference on Kmet. I can't quite remember, but you get the idea. It's a really solid play and a nice improvement from a quarterback that was having those issues with drifting earlier that he really doesn't deal with for the rest of the game. So then, going forward, oh yeah, do the Bears pick up a first down somehow? No, they don't. They punt the ball, don't they? Maybe they go for it. I can't really remember, because this was where the game just got kind of weird. Oh, Bryson, that's the strange stuff. If you guys remember, Allen Robinson had a great little season last year too, and he did it after the first 2 weeks. First 2 weeks, he seems to have kind of some trouble taking the contract out. Let's address it at week 8. By week 8, we'll have a much better idea of whether or not Allen Robinson is pay worthy or not. I think he's a really good receiver. I think it's hard to find wide receivers that good, especially given that the Bears would probably have to invest significant draft capital. I don't really want to see them doing that at that position, given that they've only got a second rounder. I would rather that go to cornerback. I would rather that go to lineman, like a center or guard. I know I like my linemen, so on and so forth, but I would rather pay A-Rob and not not rock the boat if it was me. But that's just me. But so, I don't know. Team building is a whole different discussion. That's a whole different story. But so, let's take a look here. The Bears get oh gosh, I went too far forward, didn't I? I did. Last couple plays here. So this is, let's see. Oh, Adam, would you believe it? We're about to do that. Ryan, no, thank goodness. I thought you were saying he is. I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. But so, let's see. This play hurts. This play really hurts my soul, because every time Matt Nagy did get a play right, it just went wrong. If that hasn't been the story of the Bears, you tell me, what is. But so the Bears are running I can't remember what the actual technical term of this kind of play is, but basically it is a zone read with some extra trappings on it, where Cole Kmet motions over here, and what you've got is, we're here, CV. So what you've got is Jimmy Graham's going to bounce off. He's going to make what's called an arc block. Cole Kmet's going to come over. He's going to try to seal the edge off of a zone read. If this guy doesn't fly down the field, Fields is taking it. Fields is taking this ball as long as he doesn't just go whoosh, and he doesn't. You're going to see him pin a little bit, called squeezing, and so on and so forth. Oh, Cassie, no kidding. You absolutely are. I mean, you can't not be. Have you seen the pennant? I have a Cowboys pennant in here. I'm from Dallas. But so, great to see you. Anyways, so this guy pinches in right here, and Fields is going to make the read. And what I want you to really watch is Jimmy Graham, because I get it. Some people are going after Cole Kmet, but if Jimmy Graham makes his block, there's no problem. One-on-one, Cole Kmet's guy hasn't even gotten into the play yet. It's, I thought, is it Kmet's called, or that's the arc block? It's me. Yeah, I'm a Bears fan. course I'm a Bears fan. I don't put in this much energy for a team that I don't love. But so, truth be told, Waleed, I'm still figuring a lot of those block terminology out. But so Jimmy Graham has already goofed his block. He has already turned it into a one-on-one, into a one-on-none. And there's nothing Fields can do about it. Like, goodness gracious. If Jimmy does anything right here, just dusts up his man. Just dusts up his man at all. Like, this is a walk-in touchdown. All he's even got to do is just hit him a little bit. I really don't want to be crazy, right? Like, I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, hit the guy. Like, gets all hardcore and so on and so forth. But so, that makes sense if he says that, because technically Kmetz is arcing back. But this was rough. This was rough. Like, because if Jimmy hits this block even a little bit, like, goodness gracious, he gets in. Instead, he doesn't. Like, this is a good play call. This is. I'll fight for this play call. This is a really nice zone read that reminds everybody why Fields is so dangerous and gets Fields blockers in space in the red zone. Red zone's hard to do anything, especially hard for the Bears to run the ball, because they don't have these ultra men that are going to go out there and make huge blocks in the run game. Like Peters, Whitehair, Mustipher, the offensive line is going to do their best. But instead, you got Jimmy Graham, who's paid $8 million to just fan on wide open blocking attempts. Oh, that hurts. That hurts so bad. Like, I would tell you that I think Fields probably should have had one touchdown to Allen Robinson, and then one touchdown here, and then no pick because the game's out of hand. Instead, we don't deal with it. We don't get that. But yeah, this is one of those that I look at, and I would tell you that Fields needs better from his teammates here, because that's not on him. You get the idea. Like, I look at it and I think to myself, like, I think I could just belabor this one. I could just sit on it all I want to do, but Jimmy Graham just does a very bad job blocking right there. And I agree with you, Grant. Like, I do think Jimmy would have probably just cut blocked him if he could have. Maybe Graham's just getting a little bit too old, but instead they end up with no ability to really do anything, and Fields doesn't get in the end zone. Bummer. I think Darnell Mooney makes that block. I really do. But so, you get the idea. Oh, wait, somebody said look at Peters. What does Peters do? Let me see. Oh yeah, Peters just drives. Like, he just motors. Look at him go. But so, I think the problem here with Jimmy Graham is just to call it out, right? Like, what I would look at is, I would say, Jimmy Graham, the issue is they want to be able to threaten him as a red zone, like, weapon. They want him to be able to be here so that he can catch those touchdowns and so on and so forth. If you put J.P. Holtz in, then you signal you're going to run the ball, because Holtz doesn't catch the ball in the end zone. The trouble is that obviously Jimmy's got to make this block. And yeah, like you said, like, Jimmy looks at it, Jimmy gives the body language of, oh gosh, yeah, that's my fault. So hopefully he cleans it up. But at, what is he, 35 years old? I don't know. The whole like cleans it up thing can sometimes be overrated with younger guys. But so, I don't know if Horsted has the juice to make that block. James maybe. But yeah, that could be the sort of thing where they just have one guy who's getting paid so much money that they go down that hole, honestly. So the Bears run the ball. Hooray. Big run, right? And exactly like you're saying, oh gosh, HEC, it all sets up plays down the line where you can do that, and so on and so forth. But so, oh gosh, my second team, honestly, Ryan, is just, I just love watching football. I don't have a second team. Like, it's the Bears right now, and then it's whoever else is on. I tend to just pick somebody, and then it'll change in the middle of the game, because if somebody's losing, I want to see them come back. But so, here is what's called a fast four. It's a variation of mesh. Oh gosh. I don't know what I was thinking there. Let's see. So this is a pretty solid one, because basically what you're gonna have is you're gonna have David Montgomery get out here, and then you've got Jimmy Graham coming across with Mooney and I think it's Demir Bird coming across the other way. It's mesh. The whole point of it is to just get a whole bunch of people just bumping into each other, and so on and so forth. But so, let's see. Right, exactly, John. You have to choose between obvious or it not happening. But so this was an interesting play because in theory, Graham gets wide open here. So there's Graham. There's a touchdown, right? And on mesh, most of the time, this guy's the first read. In fact, most of the time, to be totally candid, you're just watching that middle clunk and seeing who dances away, right? So on this congestion right here, the general gist is, oh man, I don't actually know where A-Rob goes, but hey, nice to see you. Thanks so much for subscribing, Adrian. But you generally want to just read all the congestion that shows up here and find who gets picked, right? So in this case, because the Bears are a picking team, you see that if you're watching anyways, maybe you get too caught up watching Allen Robinson and I know, right, AQ? Maybe you get too caught up in watching this, but I would love to see Fields just hit him. Just stick that ball straight up there for the touchdown. But hey, on the bright side, technically, this is a throw Fields could make anyways. Or he could dart the ball over to Demir Bird. Like, personal opinion, I probably wouldn't. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you so much. That is so unbelievably kind of you. That helps so much. But so, yeah, Goodwin. That's who I'm thinking of, not Bird. You could probably throw that to Bird. I always think it's a little weird when you taper those balls to the back corner of the end zone, because if this guy doesn't fall off, it can be a bit of a problem. But with that said, the weird part about this throw is that he can get this ball to Mooney. I've seen him do it on OSU's tape. He just doesn't hit it. And yeah, thank you so much, Brano. That's unbelievably kind of you. And I'm pretty sure we did, Elon. I'm pretty doggone sure we did. But this was just one of those that I think Fields would want to have back. He's got Jimmy Graham. Like, if the Bears ran this again, I think he's going to look there first so he could just go whoosh. Ryan, that's Goodwin, who ends up getting open. But I really think if Fields had this to do over, he'd still be able to fit the ball to Mooney because Mooney's not open. You get the idea. And Nick, you better believe it. I'm not going to be the guy who's like, rah, 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 that guy didn't try. You get the idea. But so that's just me. I don't love questioning effort, but that's my way of doing things. So I think Fields can make this throw. The really goofy part about this play call is that three guys are open, right? You've got Jimmy Graham, who's right there. We've talked about that. I've now highlighted that 4 times. You guys get the idea. But so Mooney's open enough and Goodwin's open enough. So play call works. Like that's two out of 3 good ones. You get the idea. But Fields takes the snipe, doesn't quite get the snipe. Nice learning moment for Fields. The Bears get 3. They go from there. You get the idea. It's really interesting watching these kinds of things, I think, because it's just continuing to go to show how many things Fields A could work on, but B could learn from. Like, I would tell you Fields' Olave on this team is going to be Mooney, or probably not A-Rob. I don't really think he's played with a receiver quite like A-Rob, but Mooney fits the Olave core, I think, pretty well. Not the same, but similar. It's interesting, Hitesh talking about like Mooney or Montgomery with the one-on-one. You're not wrong. But yeah, this is one of those where the bright side is it's a learning moment. They still won the game. So we can look at that and all over this and say at the end of the day, this is not like this game could have gone a lot worse than it did. Especially given the way things started to turn out, because the Bears only get 3, and if you guys were like me, this is where I started to worry just a little bit, because the Bears had so many chances, and at this point it's only like 20-10. You know what I mean? Like, then the Bengals score. No, it's 20-3. So I'm like, I'm not worried, but then they score, they come back, or like, Derek, because my wife is sleeping. That matters. Marriage matters. But so let's see here. Once we get to the point where we don't need to do these things so late, or especially if it's like a Friday or something, I'll get plenty of volume, but you get the idea. We do this for the Bears. We do this for the Bears. So here, they run zone read. Von Bell comes down. You get the idea. Because what we've got to talk about, and we've got to talk about it, Bears run 2 running plays. It's like 3rd and 9, and then they get to this. Now, I've got a short little breakdown at this point. Happy life, happy wife is exactly right. I think anyways. But so, the big thing you're going to see here is that the Bears, let's see. The Bears set up and, well, one thing she talked about a lot also, Grant, was that if I didn't get quiet, I needed to cut it off at 2 hours. And that just wasn't happening. So, this one's for all you guys. Because we keep going till we're done. But so anyways, the Bengals present I think it's called a mug front. But they throw a ton of people right up at the line. It's like 3rd and along, because that's where it is, right? Like that's our line to gain. So the Bears have about 7 or 8 yards to go. They're throwing. It's like there's like 4 minutes left. You get the idea. This is a complicated scenario for a rookie because he does not want to get his head taken off. There's 7 guys at the front line of scrimmage, so Fields knows that they're looking for a blitz check. And remember, the Bears are running the same play, basically, that they ran earlier, with Cole Kmet setting a natural pick for Darnell Mooney, running an out route. So, Fields is going to be looking that way. His hot route is over here. It's the little shallow. Like, this is the pick. We all know it. And it's interesting because what's the word? JT O'Sullivan does a great, next mile. You know what? If we soundproof the room, even better. Like, we'll move at some point here soon. We'll do it. We'll do it, guys. But so, the cool thing about this play from a Bengals perspective is that this, like JT O'Sullivan, he explained this phenomenally. This is the kind of thing where what you get is if you don't get matched up with a lineman, like if you take on the running back or something like that, you blitz, you stay on. But if you get matched up with a lineman, especially an interior one, you just drop off. And so Fields, who takes the snap and looks to his right because that's where he's at, and then he sees the blitz. So he has gone from look this way because that's my read, Darnell Mooney on the out route, to, okay, looking here-ish because I've got to keep an eye on this blitz. Where do I need to go? I need to get to my hot route is what he's thinking about. So he gets to the point where he hits the back of his drop and immediately throws. So he thinks he's going as quickly as he can. Just hit the back of his drop and throw. What he doesn't see is that this linebacker has already fallen off. So with him having done that, he throws right into the defensive coverage. It's 100% Fields' fault. Like, just calling it out. It is 100% a well-laid trap, but a trap that he fell for. In theory, the way that I would probably go about saying this should have happened is Fields sees the blitz and just cuts his drop off right there, throws to Goodwin, ASAP. If he gets to Goodwin earlier, if he's already throwing, he squeezes the ball in. And who's to say they get the first down, they don't get the first down? You don't know. But at that point, if you really, I might not even dropped, like just trying to think out loud, because I don't actually know how this stuff's coached. I really don't. But with a shotgun snap in front of you, I think that there's a decent chance that if you see the blitz come like you think you do, you just stop, you throw it straight to your hot, and you go from there, just to avoid these kinds of dropping linebackers that are just traps and so on and so forth. But yeah, the trouble is, as JT explains, that his head is pointed this way at the start of the snap, so he doesn't see the backside blitz until it's on him. And once he sees it on him, he technically throws to the right place, but the Bengals know it's the right place. That's why they pick him off. So, bad. You hope that doesn't happen again. It's better to me that, I do feel better that it's not some kind of, cover 2 misread where he just forces the ball in where it can't go. Like, that's the kind of thing, you know the problem that Zach Wilson's had where he's gonna just throw a cover 3 route in the middle of cover 3. It's a problem. But so Fields doesn't do that. He falls for bait and gets baited. And he gets lit up, too. Frenderman, I think there are a lot of things he could have done. I think he got fooled. I think this game was beautiful teaching tape. Fields made a ton of mistakes, a ton of little mistakes. We've gone over. We've picked those nits. We've talked about footwork. We've talked about pocket drift. We've talked about missing receivers just a little bit. We've talked about how working with the ones should be able to sync things up a little bit, and how the play calling can serve to fit Fields a little bit better in the Cleveland game. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think the Bears are going to run the ball much at all. Like, holy moly. That Cleveland front is a muggy front, but we'll see what happens. Thing is that the all's well that ends well, and as we all know, the Bears then come back, they ran the ball, they didn't get anything, or so. They run the ball, they don't get much out of it. 1st and 10, right? All they got to do is get one first down, close the game out. They get nothing. Thanks, offensive line. And then and then they run the ball on 2nd down. No, they don't. They throw the ball, but he gets blitzed. This is actually a really good job by Fields, by the way. Honest opinion. Like, Fields gets smoked by a double blitz that his protection never saw. And so he just gets the ball out. He doesn't take a sack. He cuts his blitz off exactly like we just talked about and just zips the ball out to Kmet, who gets nothing. But you know what? That's what you do. That's what quarterbacking looks like. You cannot take a sack here. You cannot take a sack here. So Fields just sees the man open, throws the ball immediately, and he still gets hit, but he gets sat back down. Like, that's exactly what you want him to do. Seriously. So now it's 3rd down, right? This was the Andy Dalton play where he just went, oh, shoot, got to get that ball out. And what sucks is I actually think the Bears had a pretty decent play call on. So right here you've got, he's going to slip behind the, well, actually, not really. Case, I killed a man. No. Allison's asleep. But so. So now let's get to the 3rd down. Do you guys want Cosmo after 3rd down? We could end because he was there right at the start of the stream. But so, anyways, now comes 3rd down, and this is where Fields just makes a play, right? So he looks, nothing. They're running like a shallow cross kind of thing. It doesn't work, team. It doesn't work. Like, this play call did not help anybody. I don't know what they were looking for. I really don't. Like, I could just keep drawing and drawing, but they stretch him down the field. They get a deep curl that just doesn't help. And 2, like, Kmet is not that fast, so I don't know what that was supposed to do. Montgomery is wide open, sure, but he's not going to get the yards. So Fields says, screw it, I'll do it, and just goes and makes a play, dadgummit. Like, this is awesome. He even gets kind of yanked there at the end, but he knows what he did. Like, this is so cool. The Fields just says, all right, you know what? I'm just going to take this game into my own hands. Like, I think he knew. I really think, as I watch his eyes, that you can see Fields recognize, all right, well, that's not going to help me, and that's really not going to help me either, but they're both in man coverage. The whole defense is in man coverage. I can go make a play. So he breaks a tackle, he beats another guy to the sidelines, and he does. 1st down, Bears win. Like, it's over at this point. I mean, just about. Like, exactly, CMV7. Like, it's the sort of play that I look at and I find myself thinking, what's really cool about this is that it's just enough recognition. We could talk as if this is just a rookie running for their lives, but I know, because I've seen it too many times, Fields recognizes he's in man, he's in man, he's in man, he's in man, he's in man. If these are all in man and they keep going like they do, then nobody's here. And if nobody's here, I can make this. So he calls his own number. Kmet does exactly what he should and gets upfield. And Fields turns a corner, gets the 1st down. I mean, it's really good. It's a really, really nice play. Exactly. Be you. As silly as it sounds, that's the perfect advice in this scenario. Maybe you want Fields to trigger a little quicker, but he nails it. Sam, great to see you. But so Fields is excited at this point. It's just a matter of closing things out. The line has their best run of the day, it feels like, right here, where Montgomery is basically unobstructed for the first 7 yards. And I mean, from here, it was, I don't want to call it the door being slammed shut, but Mustipher and Whitehair both do decent jobs. Theoretically, Mustipher or Whitehair could get a little bit more on his guy, but he does enough. He chips his guy enough that bang, there we go. Thank you, Todd. You're an animal. Members get these fun little emotes. You tell me if you want more emotes. I will get more emotes. I need a Justin Fields emote. I need a Ditka emote or something like that. But they should work. You should be able to use them. But so anyways, 2nd and 3. Oh yeah, tumultuous. It was really solid on his part. But so anyways, at this point, the Bears just close it out with a couple of runs, and huzzah! You know how it goes. So Montgomery plants his feet. This is a beautiful low run, by the way. Short yardage, you need to close things out, and so on and so forth. So you get this nice outside zone run blocking, and Mooney's helping out, and Montgomery's just going to realize that if he can backstep and just squeeze into this lane, he can find some yardage, and all he needs is a couple yards to close the game out. It's over. Game over. Oh, yeah, John, the Wims punch. It was supposed to be a gif, but then Bears win. So Fields had a forced fumble. Fields had a forced fumble. Fields threw a pick. Fields had a couple of balls that he left that were probably a little bit awry, but he made enough plays to keep the game, or to keep the Bears in the game. I personally, Mark, I think that they're going to keep things to the sidelines. I do. I think that maybe they'll go over the middle sometimes. It's hard to tell because rookies do not like going over the middle. You know what? Hang on. Let me show you this. So let's see here. Does this work? Windy City Gridiron. Okay, so yeah, Football Fire Zone. Look at all my tabs. But so next gen stats. Let's find Justin Fields' passing chart. I think it's really cool if you haven't seen it. But so QB grid, passing. We want that. Come on, Justin. There it is. So if you take a look at not Aaron Rodgers, how did it come up? How did it come up with Aaron Rodgers? Are you kidding me? Did we see that? Why did Next Gen Stats just yoink me like that? And it did it again. Okay, so let's do. Show me Justin Field. Perfect. Okay, so are we all watching, or can we all see the chart? But so, tumultuous. This isn't my work computer. You should see my tabs. But so the point is that if you take a look, you can see Justin Fields threw to the sidelines almost literally exclusively. Literally exclusively. We'll see if the Bears target over the middle more. Obviously, I would like it to be a little bit less totally disparate. But these are where rookies feel comfortable, because since Justin Fields has the juice to get these balls to the sidelines, it's safe out there. So you don't throw interceptions if you don't throw over the middle, and as you can see, he threw one over the middle. But so yeah, it'll be cool to see what happens. Either way, I would look at this game and I would say it was a success. I mean, the Bears needed to see that, or the Bears needed to win this game if the Bears were going to remain in a playoff chart. Oh, and John, it is Dalton's chart was the opposite, but so I'm just gonna place in place, and so I have no idea what's gonna happen. But so what becomes really interesting is that the Bears needed this game if they were gonna even hope for the playoffs. I don't really care about wins and losses. I really don't, but I care about Justin Fields' development. The Bears care about wins and losses. They care a lot. And they needed the Cincinnati game. And after the Minnesota Vikings just lost in Cincinnati, this was a huge game the Bears had to have. And I thought they looked in control. Credit to Sean Desai's defense. I thought Sean Desai's defense looked ready to go. They clearly had a good plan, and they executed it. They were way better than they were last week. I don't think they'll be that dominant against the Browns. I don't think they'll be that dominant against a lot of teams. But it was encouraging to see nevertheless, you know? Like, even with Duke Shelley, even working around some of the problems that they have, they were able to consistently out-scheme their opponent, and they ended up practically breaking Joe Burrow's soul there in the late part of the game. 4 turnovers on 4 straight drives. Holy smokes, let alone the fact that Burrow threw 3 interceptions in 3 straight passing attempts. On the other hand, Justin Fields looked uncomfortable. He looked out of sorts. He looked inexperienced. He looked... I'm not going to say it. So I'm not going to say it. But I think he gets better. I really do. I think it's hard to say Fields can't step forward from here. Because I personally think that his floor that he gave us was pretty low overall. Like, personal opinion, it's hard for me to look at this Cleveland team and be like, upset, yeah, oh, let's do it. Come on, guys, it's the Browns. They're really good. Thank you so much, Jose. Great to have you on. Like, the Browns are a very good football team, and if the Bears beat them, they will be stealing a win from Cleveland. This is a game that I fully expect them to lose, but I think Justin will look better. Like, he threw for 70 yards. Come on. Half the things didn't break his way, but he could have thrown 2 touchdowns and run for 1. I mean, he had his chances. The stats wouldn't have worked out that way, but you get the idea. Like, the chances were there. Instead, like, we will see what happens. I'm curious to see how Matt Nagy incorporates rollouts, what they do with the game plan to try to get Justin Fields more comfortable. Obviously, going up against Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney with Jason Peters and Jermaine Ifedi is not what you want, but the two are actually looking a little better than you expect right now. Like, no, CV7, the Browns and good is not something that you necessarily expect, but Kevin Stefanski's a good offensive coordinator. They're going to come up with something. Their offensive line is pretty scary when you look at them, but it will be a really fun game because Justin Fields is starting. I think Justin Fields definitely gets the game against the Lions. I think he'll do too well to bench in that game against the Lions. We are playing the long game with Fields right now. Like, at this point, it is as much about just watching and seeing how things go. Like, that's the thing, John. Like, if Fields is the starter from now on is the question, and I think all he needs is one big game to make him the starter. I think the Lions will be a good one. I think this one might be surprising, but I'm trying not to get my hopes up because the last time I got excited about a Bears rookie quarterback proving him wrong was Mitch Trubisky against the Philadelphia Eagles. And if we remember that game, it was bad. It was really bad. So I'm not going to go there. What I am going to say is that I think that the Bears may surprise us. That's it. Maybe they'll look a little bit more fighty than we expected. Maybe it'll even be as simple, exactly like you're saying, Nick. Like, there are a lot of reasons to think that the Bears could pull an upset out, but who knows? Exactly like you're saying, Jay. Like, there are some things that the Bears did to, or that the Houston did to come after the Bears, or the Browns. And I think that the Bears could imitate some of that, but I'll need to study that more so that I know what I'm talking about when I say that. It'll be an interesting football game. It's one I'm really excited about because there's a lot of things that, at the very least, make this game interesting. And if the Bears can keep Cleveland to 21 points, hey, anything's possible. I don't think Justin Fields is going to go out there and score 30. Stranger things have happened, though. And at this point, I am just curious to see what happens. I'll take, one more question. Maybe. So, fire it at me. You know what? Put questions in the chat. I'm going to go grab Cosmo. I'll be right back. Favorite downtown pizza place? I'm a Dallas local. I want to be Chicago local, but I am not, which is a bummer because I've heard there's just amazing pizza. And the hot dogs, right? The hot dogs are a big deal? I don't know, but they seem cool. Here's Cosmo. He's mad. He's about to bite me. So, there you go. But so, let's see. The Jay, I think that the Fields energy thing is real. I mean, I don't want to say it's like too real or make any big guesses, but I do think it's a real thing. Like, people care about that kind of thing. Exactly, Grant. The internet isn't the internet without cats. So, let's see. What has surprised me most about this Bears team so far? I would tell you probably the defensive rebound. Like, I also expected the offensive line to be a little bit worse. Like, I would have expected, I would have expected the offensive line to be even worse than they were against Cincinnati, and chances are they will be here and there. Sam Mustaber hasn't surprised me, but Jalen Johnson has. That's where I'm going to go with it. Jalen Johnson is ultimately my biggest surprise. I didn't expect him to just explode like he has, but he has. He's looked really good, and that may not last. Like, it could be a couple game stretch, but he's been awesome, and that's been fun. Let's see. Oh, Mel Natus. Let's see. What's worse, A-Rob drop or Wims drop? Wims probably. Like, I think timing, A-Rob hurts, but in terms of difficulty, Wims has hit him right in the hands, and like as he was jogging too. Like, that's one that you just can't have. But A-Rob's drop was not good. Like, A-Rob's drop hurts because it's Allen Robinson. Like, what if I put it this way? If that was Marquise Goodwin, I'm at least like, ugh, shoot, was a tough catch. The other side of it is it's Allen Robinson, so I expect him to come down with that weird one that we saw, but you get the idea. Let's see. Offensive line, or Jackson's bad player, the offensive line holding up. I talk with too many DB guys to be super down on Jackson. I think safeties get scrutinized more than any position in football. Maybe quarterback obviously, but like outside of that, safety responsibility is tough. And a lot of times safeties just get sold out based on where they are. So I'm not quite as down on Jackson as a lot of people, but he's made a lot of mistakes. I mean, it's been one good game and one bad game. So I don't want to oversell it. But either way, this is going to be really fun. I really do. I think all smiles, deep breaths. We will figure it out as we go. I think things get better from here. I think we're going to have some ups. I think we're going to have some downs. But Justin Fields, so Sam, that may be a Europe thing, but I can't tell. Maybe they've got a new angle. You're right. I forgot about that. But so it'll be cool to see how this goes. Until then, though, it is 12:23 on a Wednesday. We have done another very long 3.5-hour stream. I've got work tomorrow. I know you guys do too. So at this point, thank you guys so much for your unbelievable support. Let me know what other kind of content you want to see on the channel, whether that's through Twitter DMs, comments in this, so on and so forth. I want to make what you want to watch. And Cassie, to points like that, I would love to, or whether it's Cowboy stuff and so on and so forth, I know Saul. But I want to cover teams that aren't just the Bears with extra time, but we'll see what we can do. Remember, as silly as it sounds, every dollar that you guys give is a little bit closer towards me doing this full time, which just lets me give that much more content because it means I can wake up and think about how to deliver for y'all. But that's an advertisement for another time. Subscribe if you haven't already, so on and so forth. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much. And until next time, bear down. And thanks so much for bearing with me.